3 minutes. Yeah.
Coming in hot.
We're men, and we're not afraid to say that we love other men.
What up, G?
My life is nothing I thought it should be and everything I was worried it would become, because for 50 seconds I thought there was monsters on the world.
What Augean stable of misery do you live in if you fantasize about driving a bus or sitting on a bench? What's next, a breakfast eating simulator? Oh, careful not to burn your digital toast. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go play an office simulator. Oh, no wait, that's my job.
Whoa, I think I just figured something out, Diva. What? This sucks. Yeah, it really sucks. This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
Don't take no for an answer. There's no
Can I see more white women getting clotheslined, please?
People don't understand. People don't understand. People like me. Cause these eyes can see right through you. Don't be surprised.
Snoop Dogg wins the match because Shane McMahon blew his knee out.
Damn, that was bad, bro.
People don't understand. People don't understand. No, people don't understand. People don't understand. No, people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
What up, ladies and gentlemen? We are here. It is another Tuesday night. We're back here for the Ballroom Podcast. This is episode 94 of the Ballroom Podcast. We are back once again with our lovely group of people. One just immediately left us right as the show started. I think he was frozen for like the first few seconds of the show anyway, so he'll be back in a second. But we do have a couple other guests joining us here tonight. Our good buddy Rob Motto, who learned his lesson from last week about not talking shit, because we will play more Shakira on this show completely unannounced. How you doing today, Rob?
I mean, that's fine. I just, as long as I can bitch about it, that's all that matters, really. So it's all good.
And then joining us back here on the show, our good buddy Chris Brantley from Bleeding Fool. How you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing good. Looking forward to a complaint marathon.
Oh yeah, we're at a lot of that tonight. I think Orange Hat might be back. But let's see. Let's do take two for our good buddy Orange.
Bring him in.
Give him a second. It's going once, going twice, and go. How you doing, Orange?
I'm doing good. Just had to reset my shit because it was weird.
Yeah, you'll probably catch up a little bit. I know StreamYard was having a little bit of an issue there, but hopefully it'll settle out as the show goes on. We are live tonight on Rumble. We're live on Twitter, and we're live on YouTube. All three platforms here tonight. So I thank you guys for trickling in. I do have, I guess, an announcement I can make later on in the show once you get more people in. But people are just now joining us at the moment. We got a good buddy Keith joining us over on Rumble right now. He's listening to us over there. We also have a few people joining us here on the YouTube side of things. A good buddy Vanya's back again, saying hello to everyone and all here tonight. to see you again. Neozoic here with a good starter question. He says, which I guess teen comedy film would you rather watch directed by John Hughes? Would you rather watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off or The Breakfast Club? Chris, you're our guest here tonight, so I'll shoot this one off with you. Which one would you rather watch? You have to pick between the two.
You know, I originally would have said Ferris Bueller, but one of our writers over at Bleeding Fool actually told me that that's a pretty demonic movie when he broke it down for us really good. And it used to be one of my favorite movies, so he ruined it for me. So what was the other choice? I can't even remember.
The Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club.
Oh, yeah, Breakfast Club all the way. I used to have a Zippo lighter engraved Smoke Up Johnny. So.
All right. And Orange, what do you pick?
Breakfast Club all the way.
Rob?
Yeah, I've never really understood the appeal of four children being a generation's like inspiration. I mean, 5 children. I don't know. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I mean, it's just such a fun movie. It's such a good time. So I mean, I've never had a problem with it or read any demonic reading into it. But hey, there are all kinds of perspectives out there.
It's in the chat. That's all I'll say.
So,
you read it yourself. It's an op-ed. It's in the chat.
But yeah, that's interesting.
I have not seen either movie in quite a while. Like I've seen both movies like quite a few times, but I haven't seen of them probably the last few years. So if I go back and rewatch it, maybe I'll see some things I didn't notice the first time around. But out of these two, like everyone always does like spoofs and parodies of like The Breakfast Club to the point where it's like it's not even like a cool movie anymore. It's like you guys kind of like running into the ground. So before tonight, I would have said Ferris Bueller's Day Off just based off of that alone, because I mean the whole idea of like The Breakfast Club and then the whole Saturday afternoon thing, it's like okay, it's been done to death at this point. Like it may have been good when John did it, but after everyone else tried to do their own take of it, it was just like okay, you guys ruined it. So
wonderful thing about me, I don't let everybody else's thoughts about a movie ruin it for me. No offense to anybody who does. It's just my mind detaches from other people's opinions when it comes to enjoying movies.
What about if they?
That's how it should work.
Point out
that's
a
how
plot hole in it.
A strong mind should work. Yeah.
A plot hole? You could point out a million plot holes. I mean, there are movies that are absolute shit that I absolutely love.
I was watching John Cougar Mellencamp cussing out somebody in his audience yesterday, talking about Trump or something. And I said, you know what? I'm glad I wasn't at that show because I would have changed my mind about how I felt about some of John Cougar's hits. I think I'm able to be persuaded. I'm able to be persuaded.
Mm-hmm. Neil Zogo also said, what's your favorite, I guess, Monty Python moment? I guess probably the best way to describe that one. I mean, that's
but a scratch.
I mean, there's a lot to think of, like off the top of my head. It's kind of a odd question. Do you guys have anything you would go off of?
I've never seen any of the Monty Python movies, so I can't really answer.
I have nothing against Monty Python, especially Terry Gilliam, who's a great director on his own. Yep. I have no real strong feelings about Monty Python. I'm glad they exist. I'm glad, a lot of people enjoy their comedy. I like a lot of the people in it. But yeah, no, I really have no opinions here.
There's a great scene that kind of went viral a year ago from Life of Brian, where a character named Stan says, I feel like a woman. I want to be a woman. And everyone's sort of making fun of him with all these arguments that we would use today. It was pretty prescient for its time, but I was never a big Monty Python fan either.
Unfortunately, most of the Monty Python people are actually siding with the people that want to be women.
I was gonna say, I thought you were gonna say dead. That could also apply.
Well, most of them are dead too, but John Cleese and all of them, they're actually for all that twisted shit.
Yeah, well, you have Terry Gilliam, you have Eric Idle, you have John Cleese. There's at least one more, but yeah, I mean, I don't know their politics other than John Cleese is weird because he criticizes Trump, but he's against the whole free speech bullshit over in the UK. Where they don't really have free, and it's like, do you not see how these things are like? And it's whatever. Like I get that people don't like Trump personality wise, especially people that either don't live in this country, don't live in this country full time. I can understand that, but it's just like, okay, that's wish you got out more there, dude.
He does.
Billy D. Williams, man, he just went full bass today or recently.
Who?
Billy D. Williams. He completely destroyed the concept of identity politics.
The actor should be able to do anything kind of line. I think I saw the headline. Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll backpedal in 3 days.
No, he won't.
Or are they going to make...
He didn't after he shut down the View.
I was going to say, are they going to make
Williams? That's right. Yeah, you're right. Good point.
Are they already going to make his character even more gay now? It's like a punishment. Is that how this thing's going to work?
That's how it works. Yeah.
All right. Good buddy Doa Fetch joining us here tonight as well. Says that he will pick Bureau as more fun, but Breakfast Club is a better film. Tale of Sir Lancelot is my favorite Monty Python skit, according to him. And then, yeah, only 2 of the Monty Pythons are dead. So, and then who else have we got?
I've never seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, so that's why I pick Breakfast Club. But also, it's because I like Breakfast Club, mainly because I'm part of the Breakfast Club.
And then our good buddy Spencer joining us here tonight as well. So before we get started here, I wanted to go ahead and let you guys know, make sure that you guys have your notification signs up for this podcast. Because as you've noticed, and I kind of argued about this on Twitter over the weekend, apparently YouTube has not been sending out any notifications for any of our shows for quite a while now, and I've gotten this told from me by Cassie. I've gotten it told to me from a few other people that they just have not been receiving any of my notifications like at all, and people said that I have the notification bell up, but it's just not sending it out. And I know my channel has been stifled for a while now. Like when I made the complaint, it just now got to a point where it's like my video started to trend, and all of a sudden the subs started going up, but the subs have been stagnant for a while. And apparently the notification had not been going out for quite a time too. So try to make the notice out there that yes, YouTube is screwing up with my channel, because I'm pretty sure they don't like the things I talk about on here. But guess what? I'm going to talk about them anyway, because that's just the way that we roll around here. So make sure that you guys have that up, and make sure if you're watching this to have those notifications up, because YouTube just can't be simple. But then again, we knew this going in, so it shouldn't be much of a surprise to anyone. So we're gonna go ahead and start. Yeah, that too. And I haven't even talked about the election yet. Like, I haven't even mentioned anything about Trump and Biden, because I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I'm not that emotionally invested in Trump and Biden for ulterior reasons. Like, obviously, I'm voting for Trump if when the November comes around, unless they do something wild and try to squeeze in Michelle Obama at the last minute or some nonsense like that. But like that whole portion of me is not. In fact, it's just like I'm just not that emotionally invested in their election right now with the way that things are going. Gothic Chick, who was joining us, I think she was here last night too for not last night, Sunday night I should say, for our show, says I haven't seen anything until after the fact. Yeah, like I said, until I pointed it out that they were stifling my channel, all of a sudden some of the things started to trend the way that it should have, but it's been going like that for a while. So we'll go ahead and just let you know here, we're going to start off with some pretty heavy topics here in the first half of this show, so we're going to be getting in pretty deep on some pretty deep stuff, and then we'll do our Monkey Man review, and then we'll let's end the show on a much more lighter note, because we have to get into some pretty deep stuff here to start the show. So let's start off pretty hot. Let's talk about our girl Sydney Sweeney, because this crossed my Twitter feed over the last weekend. And look, we've been covering her for quite a while now, making like a little over a year, depending on some of the stuff that she's been in the news for. As a result of this, she's been in numerous movies that have released over the last several months. She's in the film Immaculate, that's still out in theaters right now. The kind of the Catholic movie that's out at the moment, the Catholic horror movie, I should say. She's also been in Anyone But You, which was the romantic comedy movie that did pretty well. She was also in Madam Web, which did not do very well. She's been on Saturday Night Live. She's been on Euphoria. It's like she's been making the rounds for quite some time. And every time I see an actress on the rise, when she's on that level, I always think to myself, okay, when's the next domino going to fall? Because she's not the first and she won't be the last. So we've been asking, it's like, hey, she's the new it girl in Hollywood. So at what point is she going to toe that line to essentially join the club? And somebody pointed this out earlier this week, because apparently she did a photo shoot. This was probably about a couple weeks ago, or maybe about a week ago actually, that she did this photo shoot here. And I want to make sure I get the name of this company that she did the shoot with. It was What Not Wear, which I guess is some kind of insider fashion and beauty inspiration company. Very, very vague, but this is kind of the stuff that they do. They just did one with like Kirsten Stewart and like a few other people as well. So And then people notice is that in this new photo shoot that came out, there's a lot of ties to certain occult symbolism that is in very, very heavily in this photo shoot, to the point where people were asking the question, okay, is this it? Is this the I'm officially like in the club thing? So this was some of the pictures here from Vigilant Citizen. Oh, make sure I got the right one. I got the second one on my end. There we go. Vigilant Citizen is the one who covered this story, and noticed that there was numerous photos in her Instagram page that drew, I guess, the attention of a lot of people. A lot of people noticed some of the symbolism that were in these photos. So here you see Sydney Sweeney kind of in a pinup girl look, and she has the photo here where one of her eyes is covered, which is giving her the reflection of her face into the glass. And once again, this is another example of in Hollywood. You've probably noticed this time and time again. There's plenty of videos and pictures about it. It's like, every time somebody's doing a magazine shoot, it's always the one eye covered, and it's like, what exactly does the one eye covered means? And we'll get into the photo here because it goes into great detail here. But obviously, this has been a long instituted symbol of the occultism when it comes to whether it's the Illuminati or Luciferianism. You have to ask yourself, why is it that virtually every single celebrity has multiple photos like this where they always have one eye cover? What is the one eye cover refer to? Some people will say that it's referring to obviously the all-seeing eye when we talk about kind of the occult symbolism in that. I'll get to it here in a second. You'll also see here in her second photo here that was posted on her Instagram account, she's pretty much tied up into strings as if she's a puppet, and she has a all-controlling hand, which gives people the illusion here that, well, is she officially Hollywood's puppet, just like everyone else is Hollywood's puppet? We've made this commentary many, many times before about being controlled by the industry. Is this essentially her being controlled by the industry? A lot of people pointing out that, this is essentially her, I guess you could say, correlation, or I guess you could say, or coordination in here. You also have another one here. I think somebody posted here. This is like a reflection of Illuminati mind control, which also goes into this photo here. She has, if you see here, she's in the center of this photo, but then she also has two other faces, which are her face in this photo as well. And I guess this is a reference to MK Ultra. This is something that I didn't know, but I kind of like looked into it. It's basically saying that, when people who are in Hollywood, they have certain handlers who keep them, in check, hidden behind the scenes. And I guess it's supposed to be a representation of that symbolism here in this photo. But then this is the one that's very interesting to me. And Rob, I know you remember this from a film too, so I'm going to see if you notice this as well. In this photo here, this is the one that got a lot of attention, where she's sitting here in a red wig, and then her mouth open, and inside of her mouth she has an eye. And people were like, what exactly is this like a reference to? Why is it the eyeball in her mouth? Rob, you remember a little film called Neon Demon, right?
I apologize. I have not yet seen Neon Demon. I know Nicholas Winding Refn directed it, and it's been on my list to watch for years, but I still haven't gotten to it. But I know it's about Hollywood and like fame, and basically, what that requires, and for you to basically sell your soul. So yeah, I know what you mean.
So in that movie, because we've had a couple of conversations about this movie, because you liked his work from like other films. When I saw this film 8 years ago, I think is when it first came out, I absolutely hated this movie, because my take on it at the time was that it was more of a very pretentious like style versus substance type of film, where it's just like, oh, it's about the art and the visuals, and it doesn't really have to make sense. It doesn't even have to have like any meaning to it. It's like, this is all it is, right? But obviously you go back and you watch that film, there's a lot of symbolism in that film, which is directly talking about how Hollywood works and how Hollywood takes these young impressionable girls who are desiring fame and desiring money, who come from outside of the town, and they get quite literally swallowed up by the industry. In the end of this film, if you remember, it was Ellen Fanning who was the girl in that film. She's violently murdered towards the ending of that movie. And the models, because they were in the fashion industry, I guess, the models not only kill her, but then quite literally consume her flesh. So at one point, one of the girls eats her eye, like takes her eyes out and like swallows it. Towards the end of the film, she gets like violently sick, and then she, for whatever reason, kills herself, cuts open her stomach, and pulls out the eye, and it drops onto the floor. And then the next model comes in, picks up the eye, and then she swallows it. And then she goes on to the photo shoot like nothing happened. And that's kind of the ending of the movie. So that's why I was making a notice here, because when I saw this whole reference to the eye, it's like, I know that reference because I saw that movie and I saw exactly what it was. So clearly there's something here about, as you said, this is a movie about the Hollywood industry. And I don't know, this is a thing of, like I said, young, impressionable women being swallowed up and eaten by this industry. You have the eyeball in the mouth. Even this article here makes a direct reference to that scene here. And there's been quite a few occultic music videos that we've covered here in the last few years that revolves around the eye. I think it was that Doja Cat video we reviewed a few months ago, where she literally like takes out her eye and puts it onto the table, which is another reference to All Seeing Eye and Eye of Ra. So people saw this, it went viral. Even there's a lot of comments on her page where she posted this, where people were saying that she's confirmed the Illuminati, that she sold her soul, and everyone else noticed the references here. So look, we know the game at this point, so this is going to be kind of the first half of our discussion, because the second half goes even deeper into this. But I'll go ahead and start this off with you, and I guess we'll start off with Rob, because you know a little bit more context than Chris does. Is this people looking into something? Is this just art? Or, as I said, is there something more here? Has she essentially confirmed that she's now a part of the club to be the new #1 girl in Hollywood today? What's kind of your take on what you've seen here?
Well, I think that, like, just separate from this, we're at a point where a movie star or a actor who is a celebrity, big enough to be a celebrity, I don't know that it exists anymore, especially if it's going to be people like Sydney Sweeney and Austin Butler. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but what I will say is, if that's the case, and they're trying to sort of say, welcome to the club to Sydney Sweeney, everything you were talking about with the Neon Demon reminds me of another movie called It Follows, which is basically like, you have a curse on you because of a person you slept with who had the curse before they slept with you, and to get rid of it, you have to sleep with somebody else. But it's this terrible thing where they're condemned to be haunted and eventually killed and murdered. And it feels like this whole thing where Sydney Sweeney is almost if she's becoming part of whatever the sort of like background shit in Hollywood, the Illuminati or whatever you want to call it, it's like she's trying to convince other young impressionable girls, hey, come to Hollywood, come be a star, come be a celebrity. It's almost as if she's like passing the baton, because she's older. I know she's presented as like a teenager and as a girl in maybe her young 20s or 20 years old. She's 26, about to be 27. So it's almost like she's like, welcome to the club, but you have to sort of, convince others or oppress upon very impressionable, young people that, hey, you should totally do this too. But again, outside of just like symbolism in a magazine and stuff, it's very loose for me. You know what I mean? Like I can pick up on some of that, especially, like the Neon Demon. I definitely want to watch it now just because, to see if I can pick up on anything else. But yeah, I mean,
to be fair, that's what I thought too. Because, like I said, I remember it's been a while since I've seen that movie, obviously, because it was a terrible movie, at least from my perspective. But seeing, like I said, knowing that ending, and I picked up that ending and that reference to the eye, like when she was swallowing the eye from that movie, and then they picked up on it too. So now I'm going back and thinking to ourselves, it's like, well, yeah, in the context of that film, like I said, elephanting, young girl, goes into the fashion industry, tries to make it in there, gets tied up with some very seedy people, starts going insane. She gets a little lost in kind of like the lure of, being famous and whatnot. And then eventually she's almost sacrificed in a sense towards the end of the movie, and that it goes into the references like it's going to happen to one girl and it's going to happen to the next girl, and this is like the cycle, right?
And talking about MK Ultra, like I don't know too much about it. I know a little bit just because I've read, I read about when the government was trying to like potentially brainwash people or use them as like activated assassins, or like that's where that comes from, MK Ultra. And it sounds insane. It sounds absolutely crazy. And yet it's pretty creepy if you read into it and look into it, some of the tests they did and what they found. But it's been rumored for years that they've used it in Hollywood to control stars, going back to Judy Garland. So Lady Gaga, etc. It wouldn't surprise me that they're still using it to sort of control and handle these people.
Yeah. Chris, let me start us off with you. We've covered a lot more of this type of content here on the show over the last few months, because I think what you're seeing here is that the symbolism and essentially like what a lot of these stars, whether it's in the music industry, the fashion industry, acting, are doing now, what they're professing to, has become a lot more blatant. Where if you had mentioned this, like I said, me and Rob have talked about this before, we've heard these rumors going back at least maybe about 20 years or so, but at the time it was like it wasn't so in your face, like you didn't really like believe much of it, right? You just thought that it's a crazy conspiracy theory like on the internet. It's not really much to go to it. Now we're seeing it so frequently, and it's becoming more and more in your face that you have to start wondering at a certain point that is this really just art? Is like they want us to believe, or is there something more going on here? Because it's starting to increase to quite a lot. Where we're having these stories like maybe 2 or 3 times a month now, and it is getting to a point where it's like there's something more here than, oh, they're just trying to get a rise out of you, or they're just trying to get attention. How do you kind of take a story like this?
Well, I wonder about it because, a photographer, depending on who a model is, a photographer can say, hey, this is the kind of shoot we're going to do, and direct for the model to do it. They don't necessarily, I do video production. I've been doing it for a long time. And a lot of times the actors just show up and do whatever line. They don't really know what the story is. They don't really know. They just go wherever you tell them to go. So I don't think every one of these is people just, oh yeah, we've got this, here's our mission today. Here's what we hope to accomplish by doing this symbolism, right? But at the same time, you have to ask yourself, what are the ends? I mean, why is this being done? Why are you doing a photo that has this kind of symbolism, or a photo that has Luciferian or satanic an angle to it? Are you trolling? Are you trying to get a rise out of people? Is that sort of, because I've looked into a lot of this stuff, and it's almost like you hear that Satanists have to sort of put it out there. They have to show their hand right in front of you, and for you just to blow it off. Like when you have people like, what's that singer, Sam Spade or whatever, that did Unholy?
Sam Smith, yeah.
Sam Smith, yeah. And people like Nas X, and who started out on Sesame Street and country music doing children's stuff, and now he's doing lap dances for Satan with bloody shoes. I mean, where are you going, and what are you trying to accomplish? There's only, both options are bad, right? Did Joe Biden celebrate Easter for Trans Day of Visibility first? Was that the first thing he did? Did he do that because he really means it? And we know he didn't run his Twitter account. Did he do it to troll, to own the cons, right? Or is he doing it because that's truly what he thinks? Did Lady Gaga celebrate Dylan Mulvaney, who destroyed single-handedly the Manly Bud Light brand on International Women's Day? Did Lady Gaga do that to make a point, or was she trying to troll? I don't know what what they're trying to do. So it's very difficult to figure out what the justification for it is, and why, and what they're actually doing. Is it just for a big laugh, or is it some sort of a ritual that's visible, like the Georgia Guidestones or something, right?
Yeah.
Those are so creepy, by the way. I just want to say that for the record.
Well,
those things are fucking creepy.
Somebody destroyed them a couple years ago, too.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Nice. Good.
That was me, actually. I'm here to confess. That was me. I had
yeah, right.
A rocket launcher and took care of it. Yeah. You're welcome, America.
Orange, what's kind of your take on this?
When it comes to MK Ultra, I already know that there's a lot of shit that went on with the CIA, because the CIA already declassified back in the 60s the whole LSD mind control experiments. That was actually declassified, and it was released. You can actually look it all up. So it's not too much of a stretch for the whole MK Ultra thing, because it falls within the same purview. As for Sweeney, I still don't know too much about the woman. If she wants to delve into Hollywood's elite and try to become Hollywood's elite at the cost of her soul, well, that is her decision. I've basically given up on idolizing Hollywood. I don't idolize Hollywood in the least. I simply watch their movies to provide content for the people, and so I can inform them of the horse shit that goes on in Hollywood. Also to let them know that there are some nice people out there in Hollywood still, Billy D. Williams being one of them. And that's basically all I have really to say about it. I'm not that informed on Sydney Sweeney or this whole situation, except for what you told me. Honestly, I've seen so many things with eyes in the mouth. I mean, look at Big Trouble in Little China. There's that fucking demon with eyes everywhere. So fuck, it could have even been a reference to that. But then again, it could have been a reference to what you guys were talking about with that weird brown demon movie or whatever you were saying.
Yeah, Neon Demon.
Yeah, Neon Demon. So hey, if that is exactly what it is, and if she is, or truth is, she could also possibly be blissfully unaware of anything that or of all of that stuff in the background. She could be completely blissfully unaware of it. There is that possibility. Because honestly, how many people are thinking about that shit going into a photo shoot? To be completely honest, how many people are going into that shit?
Yep.
Expecting that. It could, or it is very possible she doesn't even know what the hell she's doing. So she could just be another dumb blonde with big tits in Hollywood. That's about it. I mean, chances are she's going to have an OnlyFans in 30 years.
30. Yeah,
or
I mean,
that's 3 years. Who knows?
I mean, like I said, when you talk about the context of that film, the context of what Hollywood is, that's really what they do. They find, like, here's the thing: a lot of people think that actors are like smart for some reason.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. What?
Like, they used to have actors that were smart. I mean, Gina Davis, she's a literal genius. So
listen,
I mean,
from our perspective, when we hear that, we laugh. But there are people out there that think that these people are legitimately smart. So you have to kind of look at it from the context that these people, like I said, they're doughy-eyed. They live in a completely different reality as everyone else. And like I said, it could be there's just a bunch of blind leading the blind type situation that's going on here. Second of all, hi Rick, but don't say anything yet. Initially, when I heard the story, like just on face value, I was like, you know what? It's interesting. I'm not really sure that it's worthy of a topic. But then right after I saw that, I saw this story that followed it up. And now, what you can say about the Sydney Sweeney situation is that maybe it's a little bit more vague. Maybe, maybe it's not really what we were thinking that it is. I do not think you can say the same thing about the latest video from Justin Timberlake called No Angels, which I saw this one as I was reading for the other video here. And let's just put it this way. And Chris talked about it here just a second ago. You're seeing a lot of music artists now that are all coming out and they're all doing the exact same thing. Every single video that they're releasing, every single piece of art, quote unquote, they're releasing, it all has the same demonic tone over and over and over again. You mentioned Lil Nas X, Sam Smith, Doja Cat. You mentioned, I mean, there's a few other ones I can think of too. Skylar Grey, Beyonce had a lot of African paganism in like her video. Lady Gaga's a name that we mentioned. Billie Eilish is another one that's like, all the biggest music artists in the music industry right now have all seemingly converted into doing demonic type material. And now Justin Timberlake is the latest one here who has thrown his hat in the mix because he did a video for a song called No Angel. So the context of the song itself is that, in Purview, it's like, oh, it's him and a girl on the dance floor, and like he wants to get with the girl. He's trying to tell her that, hey, come on, let loose. There's no angels on this dance floor, right? But when you actually look at the context of the music video, you can't say there's anything short of demonic. So when we start off with this video here, he pulls up to this, I guess, kind of Arabic architecture building where everything is
temple. It looks like a Masonic temple. Yeah.
Everything's in like blood red and like everything's so this is why he comes up and enjoys them in the white Corvette too, which I guess you can also make another reference to that as well. But it starts off the video, he's sitting here on the two pillars behind him. You mentioned Freemasonry there, so that's another reference to Freemasonry in this video. And you're looking down and it's a party that's going on, and he's like sitting above everyone. Everyone looks like I said, if it wasn't like a music video, this would kind of look like one of those like secret orgy parties where everything's in like blood red and everything has a certain thing. Everyone's wearing the same colors, red and black. He's going down the entire place. Everything is in the same thing here. And he's like singing this song and whatnot. You think to yourself, oh, okay, there's nothing too nefarious here, just that everyone is wearing the same evil type of colors. Then you get to the bar here. He picks up a drink. As you can see here, there's two skulls right above where the bar tab is. And people said that was also another, said the black skulls and the black ornaments, which is actually desecrating the resting place of the dead, which is a reference to, obviously, necromancy in here too. People try to pass this off by saying that, oh no, that's just a coincidence. It's like, you guys don't understand how much detail goes into a music video. There's nothing that's on that set that is there simply by coincidence. It's like, it's not like somebody took a picture like behind the set, didn't realize what was behind them. It's like everything here is like perfectly crafted. So he goes there to get his drink. He walks away. The next thing you know, he has his alter ego is standing up here wearing like black shades and like black sunglasses here. I want to make sure I get this one correct. So he's back over here. He's wearing black shades. So he's trying to show him that, it's not really him anymore. This is somebody else. And he's looking down at the dance floor of all these people that are dancing here. Kind of looks like that Zion scene from the second Matrix movie, which nobody likes for the obvious reasons. But yeah. So all of a sudden he notices a woman on the floor, right? A woman catches his eye. And he goes to start dancing with her. So they start dancing, and you don't think anything weird of it, even though this woman has a very sinister look to her, right? So you think that, okay, well, what's all this gonna come to? All of a sudden, as he's dancing on the floor with this woman, he turns around and everyone's kind of like hassling him. Everyone's like staring at him. He doesn't know what exactly is going on. Everyone's starting to get closer and closer to him, like he's under like some kind of like demonic attack. And he turns around, and the next thing he knows, everyone at this party, their eyes start turning just like complete gray. Like it's like they're not even like human beings like anymore. That's essentially what happens here in the song. And then the woman that he's dancing with, all of a sudden, just sprays these demonic wings as if she's either supposed to be a representation of a fallen angel or the devil himself. So she literally, quite literally, sprays demonic wings in this video, and now all of a sudden, people are like spraying blood all over the crowd, and the demon that he's standing in front of starts spitting black goo in his face. So black goo, which is coming out of the mouth of this demon, is spraying all over him. Everybody else in the crowd is spraying blood on one another. And this is kind of like the whole concept of the film here. So this is how the music video ends. It's like there's blood on everyone's faces. There's goo on his face. And everyone's dancing in front of a giant winged demon. And then the song ends.
Wasn't that like the opening of Blade? Where they're at the dance club and there's like a bloodbath?
Yeah. But this is what it's and then people are like kissing each other passionately with blood in their mouth, and then like the devil's blood in the context here. So of course they do two cuts of this, right? So this is the straight up music video that the majority of people are going to see. So all they see here is a giant demonic party, blood everywhere, and then the video cuts. And then after the fact, he added in a quote-unquote director's cut to show, oh, don't worry, everyone, this was just a music video. None of this was actually real, as if we needed the behind-the-scenes photo to show that, oh, no, this is just an artistic expression. Like, an artistic expression of what? Like what is the essentially the catch that we're supposed to take from this music video, where you quite literally have I guess Lucifer on the dance floor with a bunch of demons, and they're all licking and drinking blood off of each other from quite literally a demonic Illuminati party. Like, what are we supposed to be taking away from this? Like, what is the catch of this entire film? And then in the last scene that you see in the director's cut, the devil and Justin Timberlake both get in the car. Both of their eyes are completely white, and they just drive off together as if they both have no soul, as if this is kind of what happens behind the scenes in Hollywood that they don't want to tell you about, but it's all in your face. So when you see things like this, when you see things like the stuff like Sydney Sweeney, you really start having to ask yourself the question here. It's like, are these people just telling you exactly who they are, and it's us who are essentially trying to like find ways to like cope with what's actually going on here? Because it seems like it's just getting more and more blatant to the fact that you can't just sit here and say that, oh no, it's just like everyone's doing this. Everyone in the entire industry is doing the exact same thing. Like, is this what I guess Hollywood music has become now? Like, I guess another example of this, real quick, if I can pull this up, is remember Skylar Grey? Like, she was a pretty big singer. I say roughly like 10 years ago or something like that. Like, she might have done songs with like Eminem. She's collaborated with Eminem a lot, so you probably know her if you know some of Eminem's stuff in like the 2000s. But she recently came out and did a music video too, and just like all the other ones, it's very dark, it's very demonic looking. She's sitting here with shaved head, black eyes, red hands. It seems like there's a bunch of people wearing all black that could not be demons. Her hands are all like monster hands, and then all of a sudden it's like you just see this and you're thinking to yourself, what was happening here? Like they worshiping this woman as like a deity? Like, Why is everyone in the music industry doing the exact same thing right now? Why is it that everything in Hollywood is directed one way when it comes to, I guess, any kind of religious values, and it's all leading back to Satan? So,
well, I would just say this, and I don't want to bogart this discussion for sure, but I do want to say something real quick.
Go ahead.
I'm a Christian. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I talk to him every morning and throughout the day. I feel like we as human beings were designed to worship something. You know, some people that's God, some people that's sports, some people that's themselves. You know, I've made this point. I'm active in my church's men's ministry, and you know, you don't see a lot of guys that sing in church, but those same guys will stand up and cheer at the concert, and they know all the words, or they'll sing in their cars because they know all the words, or they'll shout at the arena for their favorite sports activities, but they won't stand up and shout for God. Well, I think these videos are serving a purpose. I think these movies and these photo shoots do serve a purpose, whether the people directly involved know what's going on, whether Skylar Gray knows what she's doing, but maybe it is giving glory to the prince of this earth, you know, because it's something that has to take place. And that's what the prince of this earth wants to happen. And if anybody's curious about the prince of the earth, I'm sure Jacob's mentioned this before. This isn't first grade Sunday school, but this has been going on for a while. I mean, even Bob Dylan back in 2004 admitted on 60 Minutes that he had made a deal with the devil. I mean, and Cat Williams is talking about all the stuff he has. And you got P. Diddy has Homeland Security trying to cover up all the evidence of what he's been doing, just like they did with Jeffrey Epstein. But man, it's just so much easier to cope. I like that you said cope, Jacob, because I don't want to think about children being sexually abused and trafficked and used in satanic rituals, but it's happening. I mean, it's happening probably right now. There's probably a 4-year-old girl that's about to be raped for the second dozen time today before her organs are sold on the black market in a couple of weeks when she's worn out. That's literally going on in comic books and movies and sports. That's just all bread and circuses. It's just an ugly thing. So why, you know, Beyonce, you mentioned Beyonce, and I know you mentioned Vigilant Citizen, but I mean, he was covering how one of the girls that used to play drums for her several years ago accused her of extreme witchcraft, magic spells about sexual molestation. I mean, just the most bizarre stuff. And these are in court documents. And
just real quick on that. If you guys were watching my Sunday episode of the Bible Nerds, we kind of talked about Beyonce in the context of the topic we were discussing, and we actually played one of Beyonce's quote unquote her prayers before one of her stadium concerts. And people don't even realize like that's a pagan prayer. Like that's not a prayer to a Christian God like whatsoever. Like you don't say Father, Mother, God, and then praise like the energy and like the negativity. Like nobody does that in Christianity. That's not Christian. That's pagan. So.
Well, these are all spell casting, seances, meditations, things like that. I mean, all of this stuff that is hidden from our immediate view is real. I mean, I'm convinced of it. I've had my own personal experiences with some crazy stuff. So, I mean, all that stuff's out there. It's just that you get mocked or ridiculed or laughed at because it's not something that you can see or touch, but it's all real in one day.
But, and to be fair, you know, I know we have too many issues to even bring up in this country, but we do still at least operate under the illusion of rule of law, and rule of law says, what's the evidence? Yeah. Okay. And look, I'm not saying there's not a lot of circumstantial evidence. There is, and I'm creeped out by it because guess what I love movies, and I love NFL football more than anything in this world. And if I were to find out that both, or at least Hollywood, was complicit in a widespread like, I would have to literally take probably a year of like soul searching just to get over it, because I spent so much time and so much just with that world. And so it would just take a long time for me to, so I would probably fundamentally change as a person. So I hope you're wrong more than anything. I hope you're wrong, but I also am listening to all of this because it's, you know, it's like, it's worth considering too. It's worth considering, hey, what if there are countless people suffering at the hands of these sick fucking people. So I just, I that's why I have an open mind. I'm willing to listen. But I just hope you're wrong, just for the, for the sake of those people.
Well, I would love to be wrong, honestly. I mean, I'm with you. I get it, because I used to be in that world. I mean, in the music industry world a couple of decades ago. But I think that it goes back to what I said originally. Why are they doing these things, right? Why are they putting these things in our face? Are they doing it just to troll people? Is that what amuses them, that they go to all these lengths and great efforts to go, what satanic looking stuff can, like Valencia? Let's put some court documents out in this photo shoot that have to do with child pornography, with this little girl wearing, handcuffs or whatever. Let's go to all these great lengths. Yes, go print off that court case and put it here and make sure it's in the shoot, just to let somebody who has a keen eye, who then will notice what we did and then make a big stink about it, and we'll sell more clothes. Really? I mean, you go to those. Why did you do that? Why, like, if it was all not real, like my greatest worry or fear about it, if it's not that, then you're just trolling us. And why are you doing that? Why not just be cool and make things that are beautiful and make things that are well made, right? Why are you up here looking like you're worshiping Beelzebub if you don't even believe in him? Why go to I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to great lengths to do some big ritual towards Aphrodite or something. Of course not. I mean, so that's my opinion.
And I have an answer to your question there, but I actually want Orange Hat and then Rick to give their thoughts here. So we'll start with Orange.
The Justin Timberlake stuff. These people need help. And the fact that they are making these videos and they are completely unashamed of making these videos, if they're going to try the whole, well, this is just acting, and they have to make clarifications that it's just acting and that it has nothing to do with any sort of shit like that. I'm sorry, but you are kind of, or in how many times have actors said shit that is not true, that they're lying outright. So yeah, I'm sorry, but Timberlake, if you are saying that you are just fucking around and making a music video, prove it. Fucking prove it. Go to church, freaking show or be present at a church, surrounded by people, and do it for more than just once, but actually, I don't know, continue doing it for the rest of your life so that you can actually show us that you are actually not one of those evil fucks out there. Because honestly, I have no interest in your music. Your music has not interested me since I was a teenager, and even then I outgrew your shit in my early teens. So honestly, this shit is just, if they are going that route, it makes me less interested in them.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be caught up in that horse shit.
Rick, what's kind of your take on the Justin Timberlake part of this?
I've said this already in other times when we've covered similar videos that have these sort of dark, satanic overtones. It's not original. It's very boring. It's very almost predictable. And I was thinking we've come a long way from when Michael Jackson issued like a little thriller note, like, due to my personal beliefs, this is not an endorsement of the occult or something like that. Before
I remember that. I was just thinking about that, Rick.
Yeah. So we've come a long way. There was no need to have this imagery, because I saw the video and I've heard about this topic. I saw the video, I heard the song. It would have worked fine with just her being a very seductive woman trying to lure him into some sort of wickedness just on its own. There was no real need to have this demonic or winged like creature pop up and everyone's spitting out blood and dropping black glue or goo all over him. There was no point to that. I mean, it's not related to the song at all.
It's ghoulish.
Yes, it's it was irrational, it was bizarre, it was unnecessary, and it's just not impressive. But for Justin Timberlake, look, first I thought he looked far older than his actual age. Like he's looking, I think he's 43, so he's looking much older. And secondly, it's not very impressive.
Yeah.
So there was no need for it. That was kind of my quick summation. There was no need for the wings and the devil worship, whatever that thing that was going on. It would have worked just fine. It would have actually worked better if you had it some sort of like conflict. But we were seeing this too often. What is it that you say, Jacob? Like once is a coincidence, twice is, or three times is a pattern. Like, we're seeing this so often.
Yeah,
now.
it's like once is the coincidence, twice is a pattern, and three times is the agenda.
There you go. So we're seeing this with all these other videos, all these other artists. It's just not impressive anymore. It never was. It never was.
So
well, Thriller was impressive. Let's give Michael Jackson.
Yes. But that was
directed by Martin Scorsese.
Yep.
Directed by.
Bad.
I thought that was
Bad
John.
John Landis.
Sorry, my bad. See, this is
John
why
Landis
I don't do music
videos. Martin Scorsese directed Bad.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah. And speaking of directors, who knows? Did Justin just get saddled with this director and this director's vision by the record label? I mean, again, he's an old Mickey Mouse Club cadet. He may just be a puppet, just like Britney and every other one of them. I don't know.
Well, according to the context of the video, yeah. According to the context of the video, he helped partially direct this film too, so he was very much in on this. This wasn't like somebody set him up.
Listen, I'm just trying to cope. I'm trying to cope. I haven't listened to Justin Timberlake since he was getting produced by Timberland. So,
yeah. The last I heard of Justin Timberlake, he's the one that forced Brit to get an abortion after he knocked her up.
Oh yeah, good guy.
So, a good guy, Jim. So you brought something up here, Chris, and I've actually talked about this maybe a couple times on the show, so I'll bring it up again. You know, Andrew Tate did a viral video, like I think like a year or so ago, talking about this, like talking about like Satanism and people who worship the devil, and he brought up this idea of like karmic retribution, where they believe that they have to show you what they're doing, because if you essentially allow them to do it, then you're complicit in it, right? So that's kind of the idea. So if they show you exactly who they are, then essentially there's no ill will towards them, which is only half right in context, because look, they're in these people's mind, like they think that they're somehow getting some kind of like spiritual protection from Satan, which isn't what's actually happening here. Here's what's actually happening here is that these people are making what they're doing so obvious. They're making their evil so obvious to the world that it's not that they're going to protect themselves, it's that they're condemning essentially everyone else. Because as we see here, if we believe that we're in the last days, which I truly believe too, evil is going to make itself so apparent and so in your face. You're not going to be able to say that, oh, well, I didn't know, or if only someone had told me this was actually evil, this is actually like satanic. No, I would have like pulled away from it. It's like, it's so in your face now. You can't even, you at the bare minimum have to question like what's going on here at this point. And if you continue to essentially consume and partake in this stuff, which is very, very clearly evil, then the condemnation is not on them. The condemnation is on you. So this is why they're doing what they're doing right now. They're trying to condemn you for being a partaker of their evil.
Oh,
and that's what it really comes down to.
So you'll be damned along with them.
Exactly, right? Because like I said,
did you catch the news? I think it was a couple of weeks ago when that actress from the Transformers, Megan Fox, was out trying to defend ritualistically drinking her boyfriend's blood, saying, well, drinking another stranger's semen on Tinder is grosser than that.
We literally played the video on the show. Yeah,
okay. I'm sorry.
I literally laughed because it was so out in left field, where it was like, yeah, no, that'll never be normal or okay or socially acceptable.
I think these people out there in the entertainment industry are so far removed from the reality of normal people.
Yep.
Especially people like, I mean, how many people do you think kiss Megan's ass? You know, like, because she's some movie star. I bet nobody tells her no.
I mean, it's like her being an admitted witch, like not an alleged witch. She admits that she's a witch. She has 3 boys, which she's dressing up as girls. She's in this industry. admitting to blood rituals and all kinds of like other rituals. She tried to put a death curse on was it Robbie Starbuck not too long ago. And these are the things that people are admitting to. It's like you have Emma Watson admitting to witchcraft. What's her name? Vanessa Hudgens
Lana Del
admitting to
Rey, the
witchcraft.
singer Lana Del Rey has.
Lana Del Rey. And here's another thing too.
I
It's like
Lana Del Rey.
we've seen like
Name.
you get the Hollywood like pictures, like you know who all the big Hollywood names are, but there's the names that are behind the scenes that we weren't supposed to know the names of, but now we're seeing them involved. A lot of these celebrities too. It's like it was only a few years ago where the name Marina Ivanovich came to life. We started to realize what she was involved with and who she was involved with. All of a sudden, we see all these pictures of her with Gwen Stefani and Lady Gaga and Jay-Z. Will Ferrell and all these big name Hollywood celebrities, all these big name politicians are all essentially there. We weren't supposed to know who she was, right? She was just supposed to be a figure in the shadows, but now we know who she is, and people are starting to figure things out now.
I think she's going to be directing the school system in Ukraine. I saw something.
Yep.
Yes, that was a BBC article on that.
That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, in other words, it's like we're going to ignore her doing rituals with semen and blood and bring her over here to help shape the minds of our youth. I think that would be a good thing. That's ridiculous. I mean, what's going on? I mean, that's bigger than this conversation. So,
well, to be fair, like there aren't that many Ukrainian schools anymore. Putin's blown them all up, so
okay,
you don't have to worry about that.
Well, the other one, Jeffrey Epstein. Honestly, we weren't never supposed to know the name Jeffrey Epstein. Like he wasn't supposed to be someone who was supposed to be known to the general public. He just became known, and people started figuring out what he was doing behind the scenes. You can say the same thing about John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. That's not a guy who was supposed to be like well known, but when his emails leak and people started putting things together about, wow, there's a lot of messages in these emails that seem very, very weird. It's like someone speaking in code, and they never said, by the way, that those emails were fake. Like they never said that these are doctored emails or fake emails. They admitted they were real. They just didn't want you to read them, right?
Yeah.
Well,
So
those emails were just about wedding plans, right? That was
wedding plans and talking about their grandparents. That's all, kids. That's all it was. As if someone didn't actually read exactly like what they were saying here, but all of this stuff is coming to light, and we're starting to know the names of these people. We're starting to know the people who they're associated with. So you kind of like, we're always in this mindset of like, when are they ever going to release the Jeffrey Epstein name list? Like, where we're ever going to get the list? It's like, in all honesty, you really don't need the list. All you need to do is start connecting the dots. You can probably figure out who's on there just by figuring out who's associated with who at this point.
Well, the FBI has bigger priorities, like arresting grandmothers who were caught praying in the Capitol building on January 6th. They can't really go after the people on the black book of Jeffrey Epstein. Come on, they got more important things.
They're too busy arresting Me Mob because she took a picture like inside the Capitol.
Yeah.
It's like she's a terrorist.
But it was the most traumatic moment in American history, people. Do we not know this? Yes, it was like the most traumatic moment, worse than September 11th, worse than the battle,
worse than the Civil War. Oh my gosh,
yes.
It was literally worse than Hitler.
I am glad that none of the insurrectionists took a weapon, a gun, for sure, because I don't know how they overlooked that key component to overtaking.
You know what I really wish? I really wish none of them were that stupid to fall into that trap.
Me too.
That's what I wish.
Yeah,
that's what I wish.
None of them took a gun, for sure.
While I absolutely decry how they've been treated by the government for basically embarrassing them. I mean, this is what it comes down to, is that these people embarrassed you, and that's why you're throwing federal charges at them. When you enter a federal courtroom, you better take any deal they give you, because if you don't, they will throw everything they can at you, and they can throw a lot. Trust me. Like
get away with it.
The Espionage Act of 1917 or 1913. I mean, that was during World War I. It came about because people were protesting our entry into World War I, and our government locked them up. And so, so just there's a lot of criticism on all sides, but it's like the whole thing just kind of makes me sick, honestly.
Are you suggesting that Woodrow Wilson was a bad person? How dare you?
Most presidents are bad people. It's okay.
I would suggest most of our federal government are, but that's just me.
Yeah. Let's just put it this way. I'll kind of wrap this one up here. It's like, look, we're going to have to admit at some point, this is coming from someone who admittedly reviews a lot of movies, and me and Rob have talked about this conflict many times. It's like, look, we can't look at what's going on in Hollywood and pretend like it's not actually going on. We can't sit here and pretend like there's not something to here, and some people are going to deny the truth as much as they can, but eventually you're going to have to get used to the fact that, yes, the NFL is fixed. They've been point shaving for years, and yes, some of your people, your favorite Hollywood celebrities, politicians, musicians, some of them, maybe most of them, quite literally worship Satan. And the sooner you accept that, the better you offer your own mental health. So,
except for Uncle Joe, who's the most decent, the kindest, the smartest, the most agile, and who's brought us, the greatest economic recovery in all human history. How dare you?
He's such a great Catholic, he doesn't even know how to pronounce Psalms. This most ridiculous thing I ever saw. I was like, this guy.
I feel my IQ dropping points listening to this conversation right now.
Killing me. Hey, Jacob, you ought to do a movie list of films that have no agenda and are just good fun.
It'll be a short list, but I can put it together.
Is Bros going to be on that list?
Yeah, of course. A good old family film like Bros.
Bros and Showgirls. That would be the double feature of all time.
There is a movie called Starry Eyes, I think, that came out in
2012. I've seen it. Yes.
Yeah, that kind of plays on this a little bit, kind of this theme, I think. There's probably a few movies out there like that talk about satanic Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a satanic Hollywood, satanic government. There's a lot of things that are probably in control of Satan right now that we haven't accepted.
Prince of this world, I'm telling you guys.
Yep.
All right, I'll stop.
All I have to say before we move on here is that, if you see any of your favorite celebrities who really seem to love the colors red and black, at least ask them questions, or as what was Gavin once said, please inquire. That's probably the best advice that I can have.
Now listen, you've brought up Sydney Sweeney. Did you mention her movie Immaculate?
Yeah, and we talked about that film too. We reviewed it on here as well, and yeah, it's the whole thing where the whole concept of the film is like, oh, we found the blood of Jesus on this 2,000-year-old nail, so we're gonna create our own Messiah. And
right.
They impregnate Sydney Sweeney, who's supposed to be the new Virgin Mary, with essentially the Antichrist or some kind of like demonic Nephilim baby. And then the movie ends with her covered in blood and smashing the demon baby with a rock, and then the film ends.
Yeah, I don't think that was the original ending. You ought to look into that a little bit. It might be interesting.
I heard that there was one that was quite worse. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. Yeah. So, well, Chris, I know you might have to hop off here. So you committed to your hour. So I'm glad you joined us for this discussion. So I'll give you the floor here real quick and let you know where they can find you and what you're working on. Because I know you're working on a lot.
No, man, I'm always doing something. I try to keep the fort down over at Bleeding Fool, bleedingfool.com, the alternative to Bleeding Cool. We just come at things from another angle. Like every Sunday, we actually try to do something a little bit glorifying. Dennis Quaid just released a gospel album, by the way, the great Dennis Quaid actor. We featured that Sunday. And I'm working with Mike Barron, the comic book writer, Eisner Award-winning writer of Punisher, The Flash, some of the Star Wars comics. He just released a new Nexus graphic novel with Kelsey Shannon. You can check those out at Barron Comics. I help Mike with all of his comic book publishing. And I'm at chrisbrawley.com. You can check me out and get upset with things that I post on the regular.
All right, like I said, thanks for joining us, Chris. And anytime you can come back, we'd love to have you on. So,
Rob, Rick, Orange Hat, appreciate it. Thanks for listening, and thanks for the invite, Jacob. I'll see you again soon.
Our pleasure.
Have a good one.
Well, I hate to break this to you, but our turn for demonic stuff is definitely not going to improve here, because now we're going to talk about a little film called Monkey Man. So, get ready, because it's movie review time, folks. Let's go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to talk about the film Monkey Man. Now, before we get started, let me just ask everyone who has actually seen this movie. All right, Orange Hat, you have not seen this movie, so here's what I want you to do, Orange. I want you to be the innocent bystander, because I guarantee you that when we explain this film to you, you're gonna make faces and you're gonna have such a confused, utter look of shock on you. I want to get your reaction to this as someone who has not seen this movie at all, because this film is probably one of the dumbest films that I've seen in quite some time. And obviously we've seen a lot of dumb films this year. And it feels like, because I say that almost like every 3 weeks now, like it has no meaning, but I actually truly mean it when I say these movies are getting dumber. So let's go ahead and kind of start off here with the premise of this movie. This is a film that was directed, written, and produced by Dev Patel, who you guys may know from Slumdog Millionaire. If you guys have been around long enough, you may remember from the UK show Skins. He was on the first 2 seasons of that show. He's kind of made the rounds. I think it's weird because he's been in a lot of big stuff, but I don't think he's really truly had like a breakout role just yet. So I guess this film is supposed to push him to that upper echelon as far as like Hollywood actors go, and yeah, we'll get to that here in a second. But this is a movie that he has his fingerprints all over, and is produced by Jordan Peele. So Jordan Peele, as you guys know at this point, is a guy who, when he came out with Get Out in 2017, I even know how I feel about Jordan Peele, I still say that that's a good movie because I like the way that he craftily put together kind of like the horror genre with talking about race relations in America, especially with interracial relationships. He was basically making a commentary about his own marriage if you're really paying attention to the movie here, right? And I thought a lot of people missed that, by the way, but it was a well done
same
film.
Guy that was in The Green Knight.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that guy.
So yeah.
But it was a well-done movie, and I thought it was well done. The problem is that basically became his entire shtick throughout the rest of his career moving forward. You had the film Us, which was a very, very bad, boring film that tried to do the exact same thing. Then he had the film, what was it, Don't Look Up, or not Don't Look Up. What was the name of that film with Keke Palmer, the one that just came out? Nope. There we go. Nope. That film came out. He also was the producer for Candyman as well. I think was my worst film of 2021 when that film came out as well. That was absolute garbage. So what Jordan Peele has essentially done is that he's taking, let's take these thinly veiled horror movies or thinly veiled action movies and let's find a way to make them about social justice. And that's pretty much what he's done for the last several years now. And the shtick is old. The shtick is tired. I'm absolutely sick of it. But here's a film in Monkey Man that if you watch the trailer, it looks like, oh, this is probably going to be like a John Wick type spin-off movie that's set in India. I'll go watch this. No, this is the exact same thing. It's a poor man's John Wick in India that's also about social justice, because the context of this film here is that it isn't about, one man's thirst for revenge. No, it's about the poor victims of the caste system, the poor victims of... I said this yesterday with Cider. He couldn't believe me when I said this. And yes, what I'm saying is real. Indigenous transgender warriors, secluded indigenous transgender warriors is the theme of this film. Oh, by the way, Muslims get treated very poorly in India too, just in case you forgot. And that's the real story of this movie. So Dev Patel, in the context of this film, he's a guy who, I guess he works at this kind of like fixed underground fighting tournament where he's the Monkey Man. And we find out in the context of the movie that the Monkey Man is based off of some like false Hindu god, which apparently saying that it's a false Hindu god upset a lot of Hindu people on Bounding in the Comics over the last couple of days. So they took a lot of heat for what I said, but I stand by what I said. And so he's adopted this whole thing of this monkey, half man, half monkey deity. And he goes out there, he takes dives, essentially. He gets paid to take dives in the fight for like his money-making scheme. But in reality, he's trying to earn up enough money so he can get close to a criminal organization that can get him close to the guy who raped and murdered his mother, right? One of these like dirty cops beat his mother, raped him in front of him, and then slowly set her body on fire. And then as he was trying to put the body out, his hands got severely burned. So that's the whole concept of his little arc here. but then it just goes off into just absolute sheer stupidity as the course of this film goes on here. So before we get into the indigenous transgender nonsense, Rob, I'll start this one off with you. What did you at least think of the first act of this movie? Because the first act of this film is, I don't want to say, I mean, it kind of really is just like a religious type of movie, except for it's not, God of the Bible. It's not like any of these. It's Hinduism. So it's like this monkey man deity that these people worship. They start their first like part of the film, saying that this deity is my savior, that you're my only God, that I love you. Like they're giving prayers to this thing as if it's actually Christ, right? In the place of Christ. And I noticed that early on. And it's just this recurring theme because it's like, yeah, well, me and my mother used to worship this deity, and that's why it's so close to my heart. And my mother got brutally murdered and blah, blah, blah. So this is kind of the concept of the first half of this film, which is supposed to be John Wick in India. What's just your take on the opening act of this film from your perspective, Rob?
Yeah. I really okay. So when I saw, first of all, when I saw the trailer for this movie, when I saw it was coming from Jordan Peele, I was like, this is going to be a piece of shit. And I actually think Dev Patel isn't without talent. Okay. I think that he's actually a pretty decent actor, but he has to have material that works for him. This character is almost non-existent. I know they try to like inform us of through these flashbacks, what happened to his mother, where he comes from, what his story is. I mean, he basically uses everybody to try to, you know, uh, he does these fights, but he's also using everybody he comes across to try to gain access to whatever the criminal organization or this guy that did this to his mother. And so I just never really believe it. I don't really buy Dev Patel as a hardened, sophisticated, manipulative kind of like, revenge figure. You know what I mean? It never comes across as authentic. And then there's all the like terrible camera movements and non-existent fight choreography, shaky camera. I mean, every terrible instinct you could have as a young filmmaker, he seems to lean into here. And it's like, okay. And so I don't know if he just needed help. I don't know if he had any guidance. I don't know if he has any understanding of filmmaking techniques, if he followed the cinematographer, what he wanted to do. So, but yeah, it certainly was not helped by its opening. So.
Yeah, so I think Neozoic brought up a good point here because I did find this out after the fact, after I got yelled at by a bunch of Hindu people on YouTube. So this film was in fact banned in India for multiple reasons. One, the disrespect of the Hinduism religion, quote unquote, and the reason why I say that is because if you guys know anything about Hinduism, it's not just like they have like one god that they all follow. Like there's literally millions of deities in Hinduism. Like it's not just like one that they pray to. So apparently the portrayal of this particular deity in this film angered a lot of other people who follow other deities. So there's kind of like this civil war in Hinduism that's going on now, where I guess some people didn't like the portrayal of this one god that they were venerating in this movie. So that's a whole part of it. The other part of it too is that it paints the Indian government in a very, very negative light, because they show throughout the course of this film that this government is against, poor people, it's against Muslims, and it's against trans people. So it's a very, very negative portrayal of the Indian government as well. So they didn't exactly take too kindly to that, by the way. But Rick, what is your? Oh, go ahead. Somebody said something.
It is a fun fact that the Hindu religion is one of the only polytheistic religions left in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the reasons why it's seen as odd nowadays.
Yep. Rick, let me go ahead and start off with you. I'm not starting off with you. Go ahead to you here. What did you think of kind of the opening premise of this film here?
The difficulty that I had was one that went throughout the whole film, is that I think Dev Patel as a director was far too enamored of what he could do with the camera. Endless shots of just going all over, having the camera flow, really bad close-ups, and for all the praise that it's been getting about its look, some of the scenes were very dark and that were very difficult to see. I had a hard time seeing a lot of what was going on. I was not impressed with with a was it Charlo Copley character, whom I think would have been eliminated from the movie altogether, and it would not have affected it at all. He was just well. I guess I could, like I said in my review, I could cut him some slack in that I think the character was supposed to be cartoonishly over the top, but that's how it was played. And the way it's structured, you get these little flashbacks as to the story of the cop and the guru. He but you get that so far late in the film that it really doesn't build up any sense of why he's going after this cop. It's interesting. I did not know that thing about the film being banned in India. Now, having seen some Bollywood and Tollywood films in the past, a lot of those films show the police in a predominantly positive light. I mean, a lot of their heroes in Indian films tend to be law enforcement. Not all the time, I presume. I mean, there was one where it was a criminal who was the good guy, but for the most part, they're very pro police. You have to be very careful about violence and sex in a lot of these Bollywood and Tollywood films. There was one movie I saw where there was digitally covered up, pixelated a certain part of a woman, not because she wasn't wearing any clothes, but because they thought the skirt was too short. I don't get it. So I can see why it was banned in India. It's a particularly conservative country, and it is political in that they don't really mention it all that much, but I think the politician that is involved with the guru is supposed to be close to what Modi, the prime minister, is, who is on the right in India, and he's not fond of Muslims. That is true. He's not fond of Muslims. He would prefer to be officially a Hindu nation.
That was in Slumdog Millionaire, the whole divide between Muslims and Hindus and the violence and the clash of cultures that's been there. So I mean, that's at least a known thing about India. I'll say for at least the last 15, 20 years, if not, longer than that.
Oh, since partition.
Yeah.
Was it 1947?
Don't they also hate Pakistan? And isn't Pakistan largely a Muslim country?
Yes,
Yeah,
one of the
it's a
reasons they
big
hate
beef.
Pakistan and to a certain degree Bangladesh, which used to be East Pakistan.
Yeah.
So, but the problem I had really was more cinematic. I could go with the idea that it's a Hindu deity and all this because it's a Hindu culture, but it's that the way that he filmed everything, like in that part where he gets the guy to steal the phone from Queenie or whatever, and it just became obsessive with just showing how that phone can go over up to his hand. Those kind of shots, and there are more later on in the film, they do nothing but call attention to themselves. They don't serve the story, and I just have a reaction against those. I just have an automatic reaction against films where you deliberately drown your look, where it becomes too obvious. But we'll talk about one particular scene that just they didn't enrage me, but I thought this is just too stupid. This is just too stupid.
I mean, it's an old rule about show don't tell. Don't show me like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I constantly complain about expositional dialogue, and then when something is like, oh, you don't know how to use a camera. See, that's another problem.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. I mean, the Tell was just in love with seeing what he could do. It was just getting too ridiculous and distracting.
So what happened here is that this is like early on, like I get it, yeah, it's India, it's a Hindu country, so it's like I can give that a pass based on the origin of the film. That's fine. And then we get on to the story, and like I said, it's basically a revenge story. He's trying to kill this guy. He's been trying to plot. The movie made it seem like that he had a plan. Like he's been planning this like for a while. So like all the pieces were starting to come together. He was finally going to get his one opportunity. But then as he gets closer to actually like finding the guy who killed his mom, you realize that he really didn't have much like of a plan like at all. It's not like he was training for months, learning how to shoot or learning how to infiltrate this organization, knowing exactly like where he would be. Like this isn't like a Liam Neeson movie where it's like everything is calculated. He knows exactly what he's doing. You find out this guy's basically just like going like essentially by his gut, I guess you could say, throughout the course of this. So he finally gets the guy one-on-one in the bathroom, and it's like, okay, this is your moment. He's right there. Like just shoot him. But then he hesitates because he can't go through with it. So he gets his ass kicked. And then like the whole plan goes belly up. He ends up quite literally having to escape from the entire city because the entire city is controlled by this criminal organization. Shocker here. And then he finds himself somewhat in exile, and then this is where the film loses me, because if you recall, right before this happens, there was like he was at a bar trying to get information from somebody, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, he hears like a radio, a news report saying that, oh, and the Indian government is being criticized for its attack on transgender people in the nation. And I was like, and I heard that, and I was like, what the hell does that have to do with like the context of the story, right? Because it just seems so like completely out of place. Because up to this point, you're just thinking this is just an action revenge movie, and you have no reason to think otherwise up to this point. And it was at this point halfway where the film and the plot just goes to a complete halt, where they just forget about everything that they had told up to this point. It's like, hey, let's pause the movie because we want to highlight that this, like quite literally, this indigenous transgender community of ancient warriors that have been essentially exiled into the what do you want to say, rural area of India here. They're called the Hira. The course of the film, and they're introduced by this leader who basically looks like someone who's way too old to be in RuPaul's Drag Race, and everyone else. So he has to sit here in this because this is the only safe space he can go in the entire place of India. So it's almost like I make the reference to Batman Begins. Dark Knight Rises. Remember when Batman is like essentially injured after losing the Bane the first time, and he has to like be in the hole and work on fixing his back and regaining his strength and all that. It's kind of the same thing that you're seeing here, like in this film, and they give him like some kind of like weird voodoo poison thing where he has to like find like his inner self or some nonsense like that. And then they quite literally give him a training montage where he's sitting there learning how to fight, because apparently he didn't know how to fight before this whole thing started. So he's like learning like how to like throw on the punching bag and whatnot. And you see like all these like Indian Thai looking ladyboys surrounding him, and they get to a point where they're like sexually harassing him as he's doing this montage. You're just thinking to yourself, what the hell were you, what movie did I fall into? It's like, did the movie change like halfway in and I just didn't pay attention like at all?
The non-woman Kangs.
No,
That's literally what it reminds me of. It's like a fucking transgender woman king movie where these proud noble warriors are going to take on this corrupt government, and it's just like, do you people have any perspective outside of your fucking echo chamber? Because I swear to God, that's who would make something like this. Somebody that has no perspective what normal everyday people would like in a movie. And even if you want to say you're being creative or you're trying to think outside the box, it's like by using such a derivative laden product that it was described as Indian John Wick. And yet it doesn't even hit that mark. Like, you're right. The movie absolutely dies at that point. But even before then, it wasn't really offering much. Even in like the action oriented like thing, it's a revenge thriller. It's supposed to be. It was like kind of lackluster. So the fact that they pivoted to this, it was just like, this movie is a shit show. I mean, I know I realize I probably say that about a lot of movies, especially a lot of new movies, but it's like, who does this appeal to? Who wants to see this? And not to mention that like Dev Patel has no character. He's literally responding to everything around him. You know what I mean? And so it's just like, okay, this is disappointing, and it's, you know, lacking in genuine entertainment.
I'm honestly surprised that you both could last that long and that the movie lost you when we got the.
I didn't go to a movie theater, okay? I was not going to pay for this movie, so that should tell you everything.
I didn't hear that. No comprendo. No comprendo. The movie really lost me when he's there in the bathroom. And first off, I'm surprised that powder that he was using for cocaine, that cleaning powder, didn't kill him, which I expected to happen, but apparently not. So he's able to like snort that and then survive. The movie really lost me in the very poorly filmed fight scene in the bathroom, where I have to listen to Somebody to Love, the remix, and I'm thinking, this is so cliche to have that kind of music play as you're having this big battle and you're shooting at the fish tank. And why are you shooting at the fish tank?
Didn't you think it was a giant ripoff of Mission Impossible whatever with Henry Cavill fighting Tom? Oh, that's right, you didn't see it because you're an asshole. Anyway, no, but seriously,
I love you, Roberto. I love you, Roberto.
That fight was like that. By the way, that was like anyway. Watch that movie. Well, you won't watch it, but
No, I won't.
it seemed like it was ripped directly off from that movie. They have a very memorable
Did
fight.
they use the Jefferson Airplane to fight in the bathroom?
No.
Okay,
No.
you see, maybe that's the difference. Maybe they actually did not need to have a remix of a song to showcase, ooh, isn't this exciting? And honestly, there were
That's
times
another just real quick. There's another weird thing too. The music choice of this film is just completely like off. Like it's not centered in like the region that they're in. Like 1 minute they're playing like a spin off of like Jefferson Airplane. The next thing they're playing Rick Ross. It's like what is like the theme? There's no rhyme or reason for anything that's actually happening in this movie.
Because I think Dev Patel has seen a lot of action films that feature music contemporary, and it's supposed to underscore the action. It's just not done well. And this whole thing, he just loves to show, slow motion. That scene where he's escaping the cops in the little car, I thought that was just so absurd. It didn't make any sense. But once we get to the transgender, first off, I'm pretty much bored by that, and there's no one I can share this because my theater was completely empty except for me when I went to see it. Just for the record.
When we got to this part of the movie, I did strongly consider just walking out right at that moment.
Actually, I did too. But the scene at the training montage, and yes, the transgender people do ooh. Well, I guess when he takes his shirt off.
Mm-hmm.
The moment, the thing that really killed it for me is when he sits down and I guess he rips his shirt, I guess to show how great he is. And then remember he rips his chest open. I guess we could see his heart. And I'm going, what is this?
It's a reference to the Hindu god that's being worshipped throughout the course of the movie.
That's just idiotic. I actually said to myself, I feel like I'm trapped in some art house student film. And I just can't get out. I mean, I stick to a movie. I actually
and then the worst part about this whole scene is that you realize there's still like 35 minutes worth of movie left to go here. So now he's training with these people, and then he has to like go back after getting his ass handed to him the first time. So now this time he's prepared because he's trained with like the transgender people. But before he does that, you go back to Sharlto Copley, and Orange had mentioned Sharlto Copley. Yes, he is in this movie. It's funny because I mentioned him last week when we talked about Godzilla because I thought that he was the first. I thought he was in that film too. He was a completely different actor as well.
Yeah,
but
Dan Stevens.
Exactly, thank you. And so for whatever reason, he just goes back to the to the underground place. Now, the reason why he does this is that, he fixed the fight on purpose so that he can bet on himself to win. And then he gave the money that he won from fixing the fight to the transgender people for helping him, I guess, train for his last hurrah here. So that's kind of the whole context of like why he did that. But then he goes here. It's another one of these parties where I don't want to say it's a party. It was kind of like an auction that they were doing some meeting with like the big boss, the government leader there. He goes in there all John Wick style where he starts blowing things up and he starts stabbing people in the neck. So this is the only part of the movie that actually looks like quote unquote John Wick. But by this point, you're so emotionally divested into this movie. None of this has any impact like whatsoever. Then right when you think that, oh, well, he's really cornered now because he got himself into yet another pickle, this is where the transgender warriors come back into the film, and now they're back in like warrior garb now, right? So it's not just, him all by himself. They got like scythes and weapons, and they're just slaughtering this highly trained military, not military, but kind of like this government bodyguard group here. Just absolutely starts laying waste to them to the point where it's like, oh yeah, see, we're strong. We don't need anyone to help us. Then why are you in exile? Like, why were you in exile this entire time? Like, the movie starts off talking about how these people right here were essentially being oppressed by the government, being attacked by the government. They could not defend themselves, which is why he gave them the money in the first place. And then out of nowhere, they just show up and it's like, no, we're badass warriors now. We're going to show how super cool we are. It's like, what is this film doing?
It is a bit like
if you're marginalized, if you're voiceless, if you don't have any power, like they say all the fucking time, then you're not going to be able to do shit like that.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
So this movie is basically saying to the trans community, you have the right to slaughter the government if they don't respect your identity. that what this movie saying?
I don't
Well,
know
I'm not
if that's
sure
even the
that-
point they're making because it's so poorly like put together.
mean,
it's like,
right.
like I said,
Every
like
trans person I have seen
Mhm.
would basically freaking pick up a weapon and drop it on their foot like an idiot before they even knew how to properly or skillfully swing it.
Yeah.
No offense. Now, I'm sure there are trans people out there who do know how to handle weapons.
Yeah, they attack kids.
But their representatives, their online representatives, make them look so fucking stupid that is the general consensus of what they are. Nobody is going to believe that a bunch of fucking transgender people are going to fucking take down a government.
But no, here's the problem. This is Indian indigenous transgender people. So this isn't like your typical like purple haired like weirdo who's out on the streets on Twitter all day. These are ancient warriors. And by the way, this is even nonsense here because in real life, the community that this is based on, they're basically prostitutes. Like I'm not even making that up as a rib. They're quite literally trans prostitutes.
So you making that rib about like the whole
I
like
understand
Thai
that
lady boys
prostitute
makes sense.
assassins are a
Yes.
thing. They used to be a thing in Japan, I do believe. Prostitute assassins and shit. That actually was a thing at one point for some Asian cultures because they realized that the women were very good at getting into places that they shouldn't. But having this, oh God, man, I am so glad. I need to tell my story here. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was on Twitter the other day where I heard this whole thing is about trans helping and whatnot. And I replied or retweeted, "Thank you for saving me money." And my fucking notifications blew up. Like, oh, you're just a fucking trans bigot, you're this or that. And it's like, boy, you guys are really fucking testy and touchy, aren't you? Who touched you in an inappropriate way? Was it a tranny?
But here's
oh
the
my
thing though,
God,
like
man.
so there was
Fucking
people, keep in
ridiculous.
mind, there was people who were legitimately interested in this film because what they saw for the trailer. Because watching
Well,
the
yeah.
trailer, they just think that it's a regular old run-of-the-mill action movie. So it's like, okay, I'll check this out. When they found out that the movie was about trans people and social justice and all this other nonsense, I was like, okay, never mind, I'm not going to watch it now. And then the film ended up doing disappointing at the box office because they were expecting it to be bigger than what it was. And I think it only made like $4 million on the box office. So yeah,
What was the budget?
Well, here's the thing about here's about the financials on this movie, right? This is hilarious.
Go ahead.
Netflix produced this. Netflix ate $30 million, and they were like, "Yeah, we don't want to put it out." So they sold it.
They
go to
sunk
Netflix.
$30 or 30 million into this.
They
wasn't
ate
supposed
it.
to go to
Basically, they gave it. They gave it to, I forget what studio actually released it, but they gave it to Jordan Peele, and then he, partnered with whoever
Oh
released
my
it.
God. The second that I heard Jordan Peele, I completely tuned out. Anything that Jordan Peele fucking touches is shit.
Yes, but basically, at a this movie's gonna make money at a profit because they picked it up for next to nothing, and so it's like it's a weird financial thing. Again, it's sort of like Netflix just ate it at a certain point, so it was like okay, but I do think it's funny how poorly it's doing.
I didn't realize that Netflix produced this movie. This film makes so much more sense now, understanding this is a Netflix movie. It's like, if I had known that going into it, it's like, it would have been that shocking, like, at all. Like, go ahead.
Unfair comparison, Neozoic. I actually like some of his movies, M. Night Shyamalan's movies.
We'll get to that in a second.
True that it was made for Netflix, and I believe that how it was going to be distributed until Jordan Peele came on board or found out about it and looked at it and said, no, this needs to be a feature film. This needs to be released in theaters. The problem is that if you're trying to do John Wick in India, which is possible, you could do that. You need to have more of a skill. This is the first film Dev Patel has made. Why anyone thought that his first film was going to equal what John Wick did, and this is from someone who saw only the last one and put that in his 10 best. All right, I've only seen 4, and that was in my 10 best because the cinematography was so well done. It was well crafted. The fight choreography was visible. That's a problem with this movie. you cannot really see a lot of the fight scenes. It looks very chaotic, and some of the shots are there just to look at. They're not there for any other reason. And for this whole thing about the transgender warriors, well, who else was going to come and be his backup? He wasn't going to get anyone else. They had to be there for that sole purpose. But I
So
don't
the
think he had
hero, so the hero of the story has to be saved by the marginalized he-she's of India. You know what I mean? Like, it's so fucking stupid. It doesn't even land as like, oh, this just like general storytelling tropes. It's like,
who else?
You
Who else
so
would
you
gonna
have a
save them?
hero that isn't worth caring about or celebrating or being interested in, and hey, but hey, these folks, they're weirdos, but they're fighting
Hey,
back against the
they may
oppressors.
they may be prostitutes at night, but in the daytime they're skilled warriors. It's like, what
Well,
the fuck?
and when I think about this, when I think about how this is presented, it's almost like Hollywood's idea of how to sell a, you know, culture infused movie to the West. Meaning, this is not for India. This is not for Indian representation. Okay, it's not. It's basically to dupe a bunch of people and saying, hey, isn't it empowering that we care about their culture, that we care about giving them a platform and showing? And it's like, for what? You're embarrassing an entire country of 1 billion people. I'm just saying, you know what I
It's
mean?
not even
Like,
really representative of their culture, because there's
Yeah.
not much about India other than perhaps the deities and Hijra that would make it different from anything that would take place in Europe or Latin America. I mean, this whole thing about this avenging warrior who has to come and topple the evil villains, that's not particularly interesting or original. The way it was filmed was not interesting or original. At least with John Wick, look, you get the fact that he loved his dog. All right.
I
And
mean,
people are after him.
I think that Rob has sold me. I'm gonna go to India, and I'm gonna ask them. It's like, so where's this underground fight ring where that movie, that Monkey Man movie was made? And after I get arrested, I'm gonna freaking say, I was completely duped because these assholes from fucking Netflix and Hollywood sold me on this idea to visit India so I could learn monkey paw kung fu or whatever. And unfortunately, they arrested me. So I need Joe Biden to come fucking rescue me and trade in another fucking Indian, or trade in an Indian warlord or some shit that he has in his back pocket. So could that please fucking happen? I mean, but then again, I actually can't afford to travel. So Rob, you sold me. It's just that I can't afford it.
The thing about the underground fight club, that again, that wasn't a major part of it. And I keep saying that the Tiger, the Charlotte Copley character, we could have removed him. And it wouldn't have affected the story at all. And it felt longer than it's 2 hours.
Oh yeah, this didn't need to be longer than 90 minutes. In all honesty, they didn't have that much to go off in this film.
Yeah, but again, you don't.
Real quick, let me just answer Neozoic here. Do you want to compare Peele to M. Night Shyamalan? M. Night Shyamalan has better movies than Jordan Peele does, and I say that unironically. So
even Lady in the Water.
I actually like that movie, believe it or not. It has its appeal in some ways, music wise. I thought The Village was actually pretty good. The ending kind of sucked, but The Village was actually pretty good.
I didn't hate The Village as much as a lot of other people did, but a lot of people hated The Village. So.
I hated The Village.
I like the Split trilogy, or the Unbreakable trilogy.
I'm at the point where I'm willing to literally throw good movies he's done under the bus because I hate most of his filmography so much. The Sixth Sense, I'm sure, is a good movie. Unbreakable, I'm sure, is a good movie.
It is.
That's how much I hate M. Night Shyamalan, though.
The Happening is not a good movie.
I haven't seen Signs. I haven't seen The Happening. I haven't seen The Last Airbender. Don't
watch The Last Airbender. You can skip. Here's the thing: M. Night Shyamalan has a fucked up mind. But when he is given license to adapt other things, that's where he fucks up. But when he has the ability to unleash his own mind, you got to have a creative mind. And I'm not just talking about a normal creative mind. You got to have a fucked up creative mind to be able to truly appreciate what he tries to do.
Well, that's something that no one will be accusing Dev Patel of having, a creative mind. In terms of visuals, in terms of performance, in terms of story, each one he failed at.
Well,
at least
The
in my
only thing that Dev
perspective,
Patel
but it's
can-
surprising that so many of our fellow critics absolutely love this film and are so enthusiastic. I don't get the
I
enthusiasm.
will tell you this, and right before we get to the final thoughts on this movie, I do want to let you guys know M. Night Shyamalan does have a movie that's coming out this year, and it's called Trap. And the premise of this movie is about a man and his daughter who attend a pop concert and realize they're in the center of a dark and sinister event. And it's starring his daughter and Josh Hartnett.
Do it. I'll watch
The
it.
one thing I will say
There
about
goes
Dev
Josh
Patel
Hartnett's
is
comeback.
Dev Patel, what he's got going for him is that Alicia Vikander jacked him off in the freaking Green Knight. So he's got that going for him. He's got a hand job from Alicia Vikander.
Okay, I don't remember that part. I
You
saw
don't
the
remember
movie
that
and I
one.
was not particularly impressed.
Yeah, she's
Beautiful
hot, though.
cinematography.
Yeah.
So
Beautiful
look,
cinematography, great freaking makeup too. But
I tried to be somewhat fair with this movie, but at the end of the day, the more I thought about it, the more I hated it. So I was going to give it a 1, and that was being fair to me. But honestly, I'm giving this one a 0. Yeah, it's just a 0 out of 5 for me. And it's just like I said, all the interesting parts of this movie is like once we actually start getting into the story, and it's like, okay, it's a revenge story. He wants to find this guy who did something wrong to him back in the day. It's like we're focusing on that, and then the movie just completely gives up on that storyline and never goes back to it. And by the time you get back to it, you don't care anymore. So yeah, absolute flop, 0 out of 5. This movie sucks ass. Rob.
Yeah, I just don't think it does anything well. From this, I mean, even the scooter making little jokes about like this turbocharged nitrous infused scooter that they
Nikki.
use in the movie, and yeah, I don't know what the fuck it's called.
It's
Something
of
that
Nicki
foreign
Minaj.
people probably drive to make deliveries, in busy places. But no, it's just it's not a good movie. It's not even entertaining in a bad way. Like and that's like sometimes a saving grace. Like you have a movie that, hey, I at least enjoyed how bad it was, where it's like it knows what it is and it's bad, and hey, it's celebrate. No, there's not even like that. It's kind of an embarrassing piece of crap that I'm sorry if you waste your time on this. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect, because I'm not, but I am like 90%. When I see a trailer, if I see a preview, I can tell, okay, that's going to be a piece of shit, or okay, this has a chance to be okay. This has a chance to be good. Now, sometimes I'm wrong. It's just not very often. I saw the previews for this and I was like, this is going to suck. There's just no way this is going to be good. And I was right. So I hope Jordan Peele makes good movies in the future. I hope Dev Patel makes good movies in the future, but they don't give me much hope. Dev Patel is not a bad actor, but I don't think he should be behind the camera. And he has a last name that in India is like Smith. So it's just,
Yeah, right.
I'm sure he's a well-known commodity, having success in the West to some degree and being in Slumdog Millionaire. So I'm sure he'll be fine. But yeah, this is the total dumpster fire of a movie. I'll give it a half star.
Yeah. Rick, are you going better than us here, or what are you doing?
It's better than Argyle. Nothing's launched that film from my worst. This movie
We'll see about that, because I'll go ahead, continue, because I got
no.
something
I'll
for
just
you.
say that this movie makes a terrible mistake of letting a first-time director be so indulgent with his visuals and his idea that this is some sort of great epic when it is not. It's hard to see. The story's not interesting. The visuals call attention to themselves. It's cliched in a lot of ways. It's poorly made. The enthusiasm is absurd to me. This is a terrible film, and you do not hand something like this to a first-time director, especially one who is going to also star and co-write this movie. He's not Orson Welles. He's not Warren Beatty. He's not even Roberto Benigni. So I would just say, put him in front of the camera. He's a good actor. He's done good work, but it's just I have to agree with Rob on this. I'm going to give it half a star, or like half a point, only because it's better than Argyle.
Weak. Well, Orange Hat, have we sold you on this film, or are you going to go run to theaters and go check this one?
This movie has absolutely no interest in me, and Dev Patel himself fucked it up because he's like, "Oh, we're just here to help the trans people." Like, thanks for saving me.
He literally went on a red carpet interview for this film talking about that because India has their own ancient transgender society where they acknowledge a third gender by their country. It's like, oh, they're so much more progressive and ahead of the curve than us. It's like, yeah, we should be.
Is he talking? What?
Wait,
does he know what the government is right now? The very nationalistic.
Do you know the danger women are in constantly in India because rape is so fucking consistent, like across the board. Like, I'm sorry, what?
Let me play you exactly what he said here, so you guys don't think I'm just putting words in his mouth. Let's go ahead and pull this up here real quick. This is what he said when he was asked about the transgender representation of his movie. This is what he replied.
Talk about trans representation in the movie. Not what I was expecting to see. It was so gorgeous. They become your army.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think, this is an anthem for the underdog, the voiceless, the marginalized. And for me, I wanted to take this old mythology and kind of take these characters of who I thought was this, this hero Hanuman who had lost faith in himself, didn't realize who he was and needed to be reminded by fellow outsiders of who he was. And together they waged this war, for the good and the just. And for me, I just really wanted to include the Hijra community, the third gender in India. This is at its core a revenge film about faith and the beauty of faith. And, faith, we should be fighting for each other, not against each other. That's what it should do at its best. And for me, it's become rigid over time. And you look at the old, carvings in these temples in India and like the freedom, the sexuality, all of it, the philosophy was so ahead of its time. So I wanted to try and dive into that sort of, and make that sort of the lore of the film. But I think we have Reva here as well, who we found.
But by the way, I just wanted to point this out too. It reminds me, if you guys remember the show Tiny Toons Adventures, like I'm listening to him talk right now. There was this one, it's a great joke that still makes me laugh to this day. I know it's a kid's show, but it was the episode where Bugs Bunny is coaching the Tiny Toons to get ready for Perfecto Prep in the football game. He's going on this whole spiel about, we taught these kids hard work and determination and blah, blah, blah. Then Yosemite Sam yells, you should have taught them how to play football. So that's what he said. And I'm just thinking to myself, you were worried about putting all these things into this movie. You should have just focused on making a good movie. That's what you should have focused on. Like, you tried to do too much in your first shot, and then you end up, everything about this movie fell apart. So it's like,
this is something I think I commented online, and I think I don't know if I commented directly to Rob, where I just thought this was going to be an action film, an action revenge film. I didn't realize it was a tale for the underdog and the oppressed. It was like,
but see, it doesn't even have the first part down, and that's the whole thing. Like, that's what we're all saying here is that you didn't even make a basic entertaining action movie, and so because you didn't have that, you felt the need. Like, it's weird. It's like, again, it's like where this tokenism, this racial representation debate falls flat because you keep giving, you give the Black Mermaid a shitty Little Mermaid movie. You keep putting these people in these roles that are tokenized, and the movies themselves are not good. And so you can celebrate some weird Indian transgender freak show all you want. The movie's not good. So it doesn't matter how inclusive you are. See, that's the whole thing. If the movie's not good, it's irrelevant and you're just embarrassing yourself. So it's, like Chris was saying, who is this for? What is this for? It's not, nobody wants this. Nobody likes this.
Not at all.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes in week 2, because people who went to see this movie, I presume, went to see like a good action film in the John Wick vein.
Did they realize they got played?
Yes. So once this happens, then what's week 2 going to come about? Though I know many people online in particular who absolutely love this, who thought this was great, exciting, lots of action. I mean, down to I'll send you, you know, your
They only
generation's
pretend the
Roger Ebert
movie's good
comments.
because there's trannies in it. That's literally the only reason why they're pretending this movie is good.
No, but it has
But
nothing
the
to
same
do with that.
people crapped on the Mission Impossible movie. Said, "Oh, it didn't, reach the level I was expecting or whatever." And it was like, okay, that is a supremely better movie in every possible way. Even if you were disappointed by what was it, Dead Reckoning Part 1, it was just like, so, but it's just, but if from a production standpoint, it's just like there is no comparison. One was made by professionals, the other, I'm not so sure.
No, it was made by a first-time director who bit off more than he could chew and just thought that this film was supposed to be like, I don't know what about, but it wasn't about an action film. But
Orange Hat's all about the hand jobs, guys. So that's what's important.
No.
Well,
no.
So real quick before we move on to our closer here. So next week on the show, we're going to be reviewing the film Civil War. So that's going to be our film topic for next week. And then next Friday, we will have another Friday Night Movie Club. And here's what I'm going to do next Friday. I'm going to give you guys assignments. So Rick, you know what your assignment is going to be?
Oh gosh. Okay. No, what is it?
So you're going to be in charge of watching the film The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. You know who's starring in that film?
Yes, I know, and that's the reason you're going to make me watch it. You monster!
Because I want to see if you're going to try to claim that film's the worst thing you've ever seen just because Henry Cavill is in it.
It's going to be good. I have a good feeling it's going to be good.
No, Argyle is just bad.
Guy Ritchie has had a good track record lately, so I feel good about it. But we'll see.
So,
don't feel too good about it because you know what your assignment is next week?
No idea. What?
Rebel Moon Part 2.
Holy shit. Oh no. I was literally just making fun of that to my brother, because I was like, oh yeah, it's Zack Snyder's Star Wars ripoff. Okay. And so okay. Alrighty. Here we go.
And then my assignment next week will be Abigail, the one with the Mexican Palestinian pro Nazi genocide freedom fighter who's going to be starring in that film. Oh, by the way, Catherine Newton's in it too, so hopefully she can redeem herself from Lisa Frankenstein, which is still one of my top 3 worst movies of the year. So that's what we got coming up next week in a slight little preview. So before we get started here with the closer, I'm just going to remind you one more time that please make sure your notification settings are on for the show because YouTube is not sending out notifications for when we stream live or for the video. So make sure you guys get that so you guys know when we are live. So do that now, just real quick. And then we will move on to our closer of the night. And it is The Rock. If you guys did not know, this weekend was WrestleMania 40. They made a big deal about it because it's the first WrestleMania without Vince McMahon. And we hate Vince McMahon now. And I'm not even making this up, guys. They instituted this new era in WWE and they're calling it the Triple H era. Like on television, they're calling this a Triple H era. So he's the guy in charge of everything going on in WWE right now. But The Rock made his return to the ring last Saturday night. This was his first official match back since WrestleMania 29. So it's been 11 years since we've seen The Rock in the ring. He came out, had this big, huge entrance here. He got this whole belt here. I still don't understand it. I think he's the People's Champion, so he just gave himself his own belt. But The Rock, at the age of 51 years old, came back into the ring. In all honesty, he had a pretty good match. I'm not going to lie. So he came out there. He did what he was supposed to do. He entertained the people. He beat Cody Rhodes night 1, and that was supposed to be to give Roman Reigns the advantage for night 2, but then Cody won night 2. We'll get into that aspect of the story here for a second. I'll just kind of focus primarily on The Rock. And then obviously let's go and play this real quick because this is the other half of the story. Not only did The Rock have a big return this weekend to the WWE, but there's also somebody else who had a big return this weekend to WWE as well, and I will do that as soon as YouTube stops rebooting and skipping ads and all this nonsense. And now I have to refresh because it's dead. So good job, YouTube. Great platform. You don't send out notifications for my show and your videos lag. That's just absolutely. Here we go.
Look at the sycophants celebrating.
Oh, it gets worse, Orange Hat. It gets far worse than this.
I'm literally falling asleep. I'm getting ready to snore on film or on camera. Make sure you passed around all the paper towels, folks.
So yes, Rock was chokeslammed by The Undertaker at WrestleMania. So we quite literally brought 98 back. So just in case you guys were wondering, that's what happened over the weekend.
That was The Undertaker? Why did he look like he had just robbed a fucking liquor store?
Because he's back to the American Badass now because he's too old to be the dead man. So
right.
Yeah.
Too old to be the dead man. He's getting close to being a dead man.
Yes, he's retired. Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Well, that was obviously the big story. We'll talk a little bit more about WrestleMania here in a second, but this was the story that made the rounds right before that all happened. The Rock sat down at WrestleMania with Fox News of all places, and The Rock is such a politician. Let me explain to you like what happened here. He's been getting a whole lot of crap socially over the last year and a half now because his image has pretty much been shattered. The whole Hawaii thing absolutely blew up in his face massively. He got a ton of pushback from that, and that was kind of what motivated his return to pro wrestling because obviously pro wrestling is the one place he can go back and everyone loves him. It's like, oh my God, it's The Rock. Like, I get that, but he still has an image problem right now. He went on Joe Rogan recently. I talked about the whole Joe Rogan situation. He threw Rogan under the bus. A lot of people are still very, very upset that Rock, who claimed to be friends with Joe Rogan, publicly threw him under the bus when Rogan needed him the most. That did not sit well with people. And then, of course, if you remember a few years ago, he publicly made the declaration that he supported Joe Biden in the 2020 election over Donald Trump. He made multiple videos against Donald Trump during that time period. He supported like Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. So now he realizes that hurt his image long term because he revealed himself to be the Hollywood sellout that he actually is. So he decided to sit down with Fox News to explain his decision about why he supported Biden and why he regrets that decision. Now, listen to what he says here because he doesn't actually regret voting for Biden. He regrets letting everyone knows that he voted for Biden. Here's what he said.
You made that endorsement in 2020. Are you happy with the state of America?
Am I happy with the state of America right now? Well, that answer is no. Do I believe we're going to get better? I believe in that. I'm an optimistic guy, and I believe we can get better. The endorsement that I made years ago with Biden was one I thought was the best decision for me at that time. And I thought back then, when we talk about, hey, I'm in this position where I have some influence, and it's my job then. I felt like that then. It's my job now to exercise my influence and share with this is who I'm going to endorse. Am I going to do that again this year? That answer is no.
So he basically said that, revealing to the fact that, he supports Biden, that was a mistake. Now, keep in mind, in the context there, he's not actually saying that, yeah, I regret voting for Joe Biden because things have actually gone completely off the rails in 4 years, which it absolutely has. But his regret was for letting people know that he endorsed Joe Biden as president, which means that him coming out supporting Biden hurt his image, and that's what he regrets. That's really what he's saying here. Because, like I said, if we get some kind of weird, wacky October surprise where Michelle Obama becomes the Democrat nominee come October, he'll be the first one in line to support her. So this isn't, all of a sudden he's found like, oh yeah, I made a mistake. It's like he's trying to repair his image, and this is what this whole thing is. It's a giant PR campaign from start to finish here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get some of your thoughts on what he said there. I'll start off with you, Orange Hat. What do you think about The Rock basically saying that he made a mistake in supporting Biden in the last election?
He's not saying he made a mistake doing that. He's saying he basically regrets political endorsement, period. Yeah. He is essentially saying what I did was divisive, and it tears me up inside. That's the part that they didn't show in that small 45-second clip, folks. Mm-hmm. But it's too late, dude. You fucking did, or you should have fucking stayed out of it back then. I mean, when he came out endorsing Kamala Harris or first, before Joe Biden won the ticket, it's like you do I even freaking or tweeted his ass on my other Twitter that got suspended now. It's like you do realize you are endorsing a candidate who has done some pretty heinous things. I mean, you probably should have just not really done any of that. This person is anything but a unifier. This person is anything but tolerant. Technically, in the state of California, she's guilty of second-degree attempted murder. Believe me, I could tell you that whole story, but it'd take too long. But
The Rock should have taken his own advice. He should have known his role and shut his mouth.
Yeah, he should have known his role and shut his mouth. Because when you do that, it's like I became divisive. I started becoming, by doing that, I created division. And it's like, well, here's the thing, dude. All of the fucking celebrities who have done political endorsement have become divisive. They have become, well, in many ways, psychotic.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, do I like where America is at right now? No. But chances are you're still going to fucking vote for the guy who put America in this fucking predicament, who put America in this sorry state that it's in. Or did you learn your lesson? No. You are simply saying for the cameras that, well, what I did was divisive. Unless you are really going to fucking show that you learned your fucking lesson, when you go to the fucking voting booth in November, you better fucking vote red. I'm sorry to say, yes, both fucking people are kind of not the best candidates, but unfortunately, the lesser of two evils is the one in the red ticket.
Rick, what's your thoughts on this? By the way, Maurice, we will come back. Maurice and Neil, we will come back to these questions here towards the end. But Rick, what's your thought on The Rock's stance here?
Well, as I think this is something that is heard in other places, but we say this often in Texas: you dance with the one who brung you. All right. He knew what he was doing, I presume, when he made this endorsement. And he even says in the interview, well, you know, I had influence then, so I thought I would use it. So you knew what you were doing, and you were using your position to persuade people to back a particular candidate. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But now he wants to say, well, I'm not endorsing anyone. Here's the reason why. It's not because he wants to now suddenly keep his views private, which he could have done 4 years ago. He's doing it because Uncle Joe, despite the Biden boom and, you know, a great recovery and, you know, how everything's wonderful in the world, thanks to him, despite that, people don't like him very much. Even though the opposition,
because they see him for what he is now. Like, that's the problem. Like, they see him for what he is now, and he's not as likable as he was 8 years ago.
Exactly. So this is not some sort of wisdom, you know, learning from experience types of situation. This is a calculated move to try to protect his brand. And if he really wanted to do that, he could have stayed silent. There was nothing that compelled him to say, well, I'm going to endorse anyone, whoever it was. I mean, John Voight endorsed Donald Trump. That doesn't mean that I'm going to be running off to see any of his movies or television shows. You don't need to endorse people. You just keep it to yourself, and the world will be fine. But because we got to a point that we needed to hear from others in who were famous, and they needed to be our guiding stars, he gave his view, and maybe he thought, you know, once Trump was gone and Joe Biden came in, that things were going to be wonderful and there would be healing, and, you know, we'd rename the Francis Scott Key Bridge into something more pleasant. I don't know. But now that Joe Biden is very unpopular, he may lose the election, though I predict he'll win 537 electoral votes. He may actually lose the election, and he doesn't want to be involved with that. It's not about anything other than protecting his brand, which isn't even all that good. So that's the only reason he's deciding I'm not going to endorse. It's not like we don't know what he believes. He said it. He's been open about it. Good for him. But it's about his brand. So he's ultimately looking out for himself. It's not for any other reason.
What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, even with this recent return to the WWE for The Rock, I know everybody's excited, or wrestling fans are excited. He's not the same character. I mean, even though he was trying, and like, what did he walk out to? The Final Boss. I mean, that was so fucking lame.
Final
Whatever.
Boss. That's
It's
his
fun.
new moniker.
I get it. It's 20 years removed from when I watched it as like not even a teenager, as a kid. So, I literally got the very best of that character, and that's the best role he's ever played, is The Rock, the people's champion, the guy who would literally talk about poontang pie. And I had to ask, what's like, literally, it's just like, this is that's what he was doing. He was making blue comedy jokes to like the fans in WWE, and being a great WWF champion, superstar, but this like holier than thou, sanctimonious, like voice of the people, that role that he's taking on. And I mean, I don't know if he's like preparing himself for political office in the future or what he's doing, because his role as a celebrity, as an actor, has only been diminished the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
He has always been something of a lackluster. I mean, some of his movies have made money. Some of the blockbuster stuff has made money, but as a product, as a package, he's kind of lackluster. He doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table. He's basically based on Arnold Schwarzenegger, if you want to like understand his celebrity profile. And he was never as big as Arnold, ever. So it's just like a diminishing returns at this point for that guy. So yeah, I mean, it's cool to see him back in the ring, and the Undertaker. Like, yeah, there's some nostalgia there, but I'm not sure what to make of it. This whole Joe Biden thing is so transparent. It's like, you alienated a bunch of people. Some people. I don't want to say base, because it's not politics, but the world you're in, whether it's wrestling, the people who come to your movies. Something tells me you alienated some people, and now you're trying to kind of walk back, and it's like, yeah, I'm part of Hollywood, but not really, and I'm like one of you, and you're not. It's like, even when, like, this is so funny. This is the guy who, at the University of Miami, all of his teammates went on to be literal all pro defensive players. He was the one guy who got hurt, couldn't quite make it to the pros. And so like that was his trajectory.
Warren Sapp still dogs him out to this day, by the way, which is hilarious to me.
Yeah, I mean, so it's just like, it's one of those funny things. You look back and you look at a guy's entire career. It's like, honestly, I think The Rock should be lucky he's even at this stage, considering that he's been riding on the coattails of what, his WWF run from the late 90s into like the mid 2000s. Again, I'm not sure the exact timeline, but it just seems like he doesn't have a whole lot to offer people, and people have kind of picked up on he's full, which is kind of terrible. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, wrestlers have to play up a persona, but you shouldn't ever give your fans a reason to think that you're just completely full of it. So that's kind of the worst stuff.
So here's the other part of this. So that, like, we all know about The Rock at this point. We're not saying anything that we haven't said about him. He's trying to repair his image the best way that he can. I don't think he understands he's fighting a losing battle here. So that's when the normie perception of Dwayne Johnson is right now. So let's look at this from the wrestling perspective. And Rob, you experienced this over the weekend. I purposely chose not to stream WrestleMania this year because I looked at that card and I wasn't really very interested in anything that took place this weekend. I did see the two main events. So I saw the match that The Rock was in, and I saw the Cody Roman match. The match that The Rock was in, and JC put it out perfectly. The Rock at 51 years old, coming back and not having his first match in like 11 years. Looking at him in the ring compared to Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, they look like cruiserweights compared to The Rock. It's like Rock is like, 6'5" and like 280 pounds. And then obviously the two guys are supposed to be the two big guys in the WWE right now next to Roman, like look like children compared to him. So it didn't look right in the ring. Obviously The Rock won the first match. But then you get to the night two, and this is what's really bothered me as a wrestling fan, an older wrestling fan, because I've been watching pro wrestling since like 1995 at this point, so I've been watching this thing for a while. The wrestling fan base that exists today is not the same wrestling fan base that existed back then. It is completely changed. Cody Rhodes won the belt this weekend, and the whole context here is that Roman has been the champion now for like almost 4 years, like 4 consecutive years he's been the champion, and then Cody Rhodes finally won the belt. And I get it. The story is that, oh, he gets to finish his story because no, his father never won the WWF championship and he does. And then I get that's what they're telling here, but you have to understand, like, the people who are involved in the wrestling industry today are so soft and so emotional. Dude, there's been an endless stream of just people crying real tears as if somehow Cody Rhodes won an actual championship last Sunday night. So this is one of the videos that went viral here. This is from WrestleMania right after Cody won. This is the current ring announcer of WWE, Samantha Irvin, who the video of her, Cody wins the match, and like all you hear is like this woman crying like on the mic, and it's like, what is going on here? Here's the video. She's crying for real as Cody wins this fake match. This is the video. People were watching this and they were just thinking like, what am I watching here? When was the last time you seen any announcer cry because somebody like won a match, whether it's in boxing or MMA or like pro wrestling, and people were calling this out? It's like, look, be a freaking professional for what's your life. Like, this is not how professionals act. And of course, people are trying to defend her because let's be honest, she's a black woman, so that's exactly why they're trying to defend her here. But guess what? She wasn't the only one bawling like a child here. Here's Seth Rollins right after the match, bawling and crying, sitting on the floor too, because Cody won a fake match. And then, of course, this was the night after WrestleMania where they're playing a video package for Cody Rhodes, and him himself is crying in the middle of the ring during the promo on Raw last night. So it's like, is this the new era of like wrestling now, where everyone's just an overall emotional just box of kittens? Is this what it is now? Like, I can only think of that scene from Ready to Rumble, that terrible wrestling movie for like 2000, where the guy just kept saying it's like wrestling is for pussies or something like that. And I keep thinking to myself, we've actually come full circle with this whole thing. Like, this is what wrestling is now, and it's not just the wrestlers and the ring announcers. Fans are showing videos of themselves. They're legitimately crying because Cody Rhodes won a championship. It's like, what happened? You remember crying, Rob, and Stone Cold Steve Austin won the championship at WrestleMania 14? Do you remember crying as a young child? You remember doing that? These are 30-year-old adults who are crying. Like, what happened?
I don't know, but it kind of like the whole Samantha Irving thing reminds me of that. There's that they're very, I don't know how old it is, but there's the guy who's in like the gymnasium who's on the microphone crying, asking, because like it's a Q&A for the wrestlers, and who's crying over how much they've sacrificed their bodies. There's that. Anyway, yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's what that sounds like, except that guy's a fan. It's like, this is something like a overly emotional fan would do. They would cry while announcing the new whatever undisputed WWE champion or whatever it was. And that's how it comes off. It comes off as sad and desperate, and like you don't have any notion of what's going on. Like, wrestling has its start from like the circus. That's what it is. It's larger than life. It's beautiful women and ridiculously muscular men, and like, it's a show. It's supposed to be about pure entertainment. You're not supposed to take any of it seriously. you want to be invested, you want to care about what you're watching or whatever, but like at the end of the day, it's just like I don't understand these people who
just real quick, the whole point of wrestling is to get the fans infatuated with what's going on here, not you yourselves getting worked into the thing that's already a work. It's like JC put it perfectly. Like, it's real to me, damn it. The marks are in the ring now. They're not just in the crowd; they're in the ring.
I'm reminded of those videos, a video that we made or that people made fun of. I don't know if I did, where the guy's looking at the Star Wars trailer and he's having an emotional breakdown and like it's overwhelming for him. Not being invested in wrestling myself, I don't understand why someone would be so invested in seeing someone win a championship that his father never did, as if somehow that is affecting them personally to such a degree where they have to cry. It's a little puzzling to me.
Well, and Dusty Rhodes, his father, is an actual wrestling legend. Like he really is like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's a great story. Cody Rhodes is nothing what his father was, or even his brother. Even like I'm sorry, I personally love Goldust, so just gonna throw that out there.
But again, you can't get so wrapped up in this, and it's the fans already confusing, but the wrestlers themselves, it's a puzzle to me. It's not so much that I think it's dumb. It's just very confusing. I'm too detached from any of this. When I go to the few times I go to events here in El Paso, I like the fact that the crowd is very cheering, but I accept that from the small kids. I don't accept that so much from the 40-year-old men who are also cheering this on. I think, you do know that this is staged, correct? You do know that this is staged. I'm not saying that the injuries aren't real.
Apparently, even the wrestlers don't know that this is fake because they're all crying as if here's the context with Cody Rhodes, right? He failed out of WWE like in 2016, I think is when he left and whatnot. And so he went and did his own thing for a while in the indies. He really didn't get over that well there, but then he was one of the guys who was instrumental in getting Tony Khan, who's the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, to start AEW. So they started their own promotion. He was there for about 2-3 years when he was around there. He got to a point where even AEW fans were sick of him, and like they were booing him, they were booing his wife. It's like they didn't care about him at all. So he decides, okay, I'm going to go back to WWE. And he created this narrative that I came back here because I want to finish my story because I want to win the title that my dad never won. And the whole 2 years has just been about him winning this belt. So that they're acting like somehow Cody Rhodes is like the greatest wrestler in the history of professional wrestling who's never won a world title up to this point, and then he finally got his moment. And I'm just like, look, I still don't care about Cody Rhodes. Like I didn't care about him 2 years ago, didn't care about him 6 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago.
He's the Glenn Close of the wrestling world.
But what's sad is like even his story is like better told through other wrestlers. I mean, just take Stone Cold Steve Austin and how like WCW threw him away and didn't think he was a star, and what he did when with that whole storyline in WWF and became champion. Like that was great. That was genuinely great. This feels so try hard. It feels like you're trying to put over somebody that is not deserving of this, is not the performer that is supposed to be worthy of this title and this spotlight, you know what I mean, and attention. And it just feels like, as I was saying with Monkey Man, diminishing returns. We're going off of I can't even say that for the average fan now. They're not going off nostalgia from the Attitude Era. I'm surprised someone like Triple H is like, he's the one in charge and he's the one that's fucking it up. I just don't get it. Like, it's like the wrestlers have this weird political awareness. They're like, hey, what we're doing is important, and yet it feels incredibly lackluster.
Yes, it's weird that I was reminded of all things of when Susan Lucci finally won the Emmy after like 17 nominations, and every one of her peers stood up and applauded, and she was crying. Every other person was crying because she had been nominated so many times, and she finally won once. The same thing with Cody Rhodes. It's like we're supposed to be so invested, as even his other wrestling cohorts are like, finally, We're supposed to think finally he's achieved, not just for himself, but for his father, and restored his father's legacy, and somehow, achieve something great. It doesn't feel that way. And I say this as someone who's completely removed from wrestling, but I imagine that even wrestling fans are not. I mean, unless you're really into this and have somehow bizarrely invested too much into someone who you've never met, I don't think many
Which they
wrestling fans
all
are.
done.
Yeah, but I can't imagine that many wrestling fans are that invested in Cody Rhodes' story, especially in relation to his father. That, oh, finally we get this moment. It's a triumph. It's a moment of triumph and of joy, and we should all rejoice. I don't get why people think that.
You don't get why a grown man would cry because Cody Rhodes won a fake belt. You don't understand that. Like, and then here's the other thing, just real quick before we wrap things up. Like, Triple H is the guy in charge of everything. Well, at least creatively, because when they were asking the questions about why Vince McMahon is being accused of all these sexual assault charges, he deferred to, "Well, I'm not really the boss. I'm just the creative guy. So like, don't go after Nick Khan. He's the CEO, right?" That's what the excuse that he gave. But he wants to take all the credit. You have to understand this about Triple H, and some of these people clearly did not watch the Ruthless Aggression era or the Attitude era, where Triple H was an active wrestler, and it shows. Triple H has been literally clawing for 30 years to get to this very position that he's been to right now. Probably even more than that, if we're being honest. But he started off, he got into a relationship with Stephanie McMahon, I think like in the late 90s. He ended up marrying her. When he married Stephanie McMahon, all of a sudden he was getting involved in like creative meetings, and he was kind of like the go-to leader backstage. Then he was involved with his own storylines, and then he became kind of like the CFO or the creative officer. He got in charge, essentially running NXT, which is their developmental company, for about 10-year period there, and still worked his way up. But Vince would never leave. So then all of a sudden Vince gets entangled in this Me Too stuff, so he has to step away, and now Triple H is in a position where he can run the company the exactly way that he wants to run it. So all of this stuff is all completely on Triple H now. He's the guy who's running the show. They're naming this era after him, and he seems to be only wanting to placate to the online wrestling fan, which is the one people who, like I said, their entire life is wrestling. Their entire life is, I want to go on YouTube and Daily Motion or wherever the Korean version of YouTube is, and go watch New Japan Pro Wrestling for 4 hours on a Saturday live or some nonsense like this, when this is not what like normal people do. So this is where this is conflict here. You have the casual wrestling fan who's only going to tune in if there's something interesting. So when The Rock comes back and he's wrestling on the show, people are going to tune in. If he's not there, no one's going to tune in. The only people who are left now are these people who are either super obsessed with the Cody Rhodes and the Seth Rollins and the Kevin Owens. These guys who, they just look like average Joes. Like, let's be honest. They look like slightly bigger average Joes compared to, like, they don't look like larger than life characters. You saw the Royal Rumble a few months ago. None of the women have any kind of real appeal to them whatsoever, and that shows too. And this is the current state of wrestling. But these new fans who are not around for the Attitude Era, who are not around for the Ruthless Aggression Era or the Golden Era, any of this stuff, they have gaslit themselves quite literally into believing that the era of wrestling that they're watching right now is better than what existed in the 80s and the 90s and in the early 2000s. This is what they unironically believe, and this is who they're catering to. So I don't know what...
Even in talking about like how wrestling's fake, I mean, I literally grew up with Mick Foley being tossed off the Hell in the Cell in 1998. Like, I grew up with hardcore matches, steel chairs, the barbed wire, the people being set on fire, the Japanese death matches. So for me, that was the appeal, along with, regular wrestling. So, I mean, some of that's fake. Some of it's, some of it's not, you know what I mean? So Terry Funk, I mean, there's a long list of guys. But, like, you know who Cody Rhodes reminds me of? There's this guy in ECW. His name was Shane Douglas. And he was always lauded as, like, like the like chosen guy, whatever. He did nothing in the once ECW became part of WWF. He did nothing. He disappeared. He was forgotten about. And there's a charm to that, but it's also like, okay, there's nothing here. Why do we keep putting this person up?
Good question.
Yeah.
And here is old Francis. Vince Russo openly said that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn look like his next door neighbor. They do, but because they've been around in Ring of Honor and all these other indie promotions that only indie marks would know about, that's why they're still around. Triple H is the one that brought him to the WWE, so he's gonna showcase him as much as he possibly can. So this is just the era that we're in. New Japan, it's like, here's the thing, JC. Like, I get what you're saying, like, even as a rib, but quite literally, you and like 5 other people even know what that event actually is. So this is the disconnect of the modern wrestling fans, like, right now. Like, this is what we're dealing with. But any final thoughts on the current state of wrestling, or The Rock being a giant sellout, or a bunch of people just being a bunch of crybaby pussies at this point?
Wrestling's fake.
Breaking news: wrestling is not real. But maybe it should tell the people in the back, because they haven't figured it out either. So,
well, when The Rock runs for president, I'm sure all will be forgiven.
Yeah, he's gonna change his name to The Rock Obama, and then that's how he's gonna.
I will seriously vote for him if he literally comes out to his theme music. I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna vote for him, but yeah, it's just, I would get a big kick out of that.
Is that
and then he's wearing like the $500 like T-shirts and like the White House like press briefing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're done here with the show. This is the end of our show here, so I'll go ahead and give you guys a chance to promote whatever you got coming up. Rick, what do you got coming up, my friend?
Well, first, I'll be going to the El Paso Comic Con, EPCON, where I will splurge to get my picture with Zachary Levi. And I will also be starting an Omen retrospective. Since with the first Omen out, I'm going to revisit the previous ones and just more reviews. And I hope to be able to see the League of Ungentlemanly whatever, because I just realized there's a baseball game that night. So just throwing that out there.
All right. Orange Hat, what do you got coming up?
Well, today I did a stream. I just completely blanked on it. I'm sorry. I did my Rambo franchise thoughts on the Rambo franchise. So next week is going to be the full Terminator franchise. My thoughts on all of them and their relevance. Tomorrow is going to be ones and twos with my friend Mara Jade Shadow. We're going to be talking Lethal Weapon 1. Thursday, we're going to be talking The Accountant on my channel for the singles. Friday is my Orange Hat Uncensored stream with Janet from Another Planet. I finally got my thumbnail created for that, for future ones and whatnot. And Sunday will be the weekly recap, where I go over entertainment news, kind of like I do here, but that one is just me, unless somebody else wants to go on it. And yeah, that's basically what I got going on. I got a few videos out. I did a 12-minute video of the whole solar eclipse thing, and a 30-second short of it, or 60-second short of it. And other than that, yeah, just trying to get to 2,000 subs before the end of the year.
All right, and then Rob.
Hello. I am gonna be watching Civil War on Thursday night and doing a live stream. I'm gonna review it on Friday night. Right now I have it scheduled for 7 o'clock, so I will, see you there. But yeah, other than that, I have like 7 reviews to do that I'm super behind on. I started my new job this week. The Braves are off to a good start, so that's all good. But yeah, I'm just watching movies right now. I'm actually taking a bit of a break with my avid movie watching. I'm not doing as because I'm kind of taking a break and just watching Curb Your Enthusiasm right now on a rewatch just for the hell of it, which just ended. So, but yeah, just follow me over my Twitter. I'll have all my links to my reviews when I get them out, as well as my live stream on Friday for Civil War.
All right, and letting you guys know what I got coming up here. This Saturday, I'm gonna be doing hopefully 2 recordings. We're gonna be doing part 2 of our Nickelodeon series. If you guys have been following the channel over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing retro wave on the Nickelodeon game shows. We're gonna focus on the live action shows from the 80s and the 90s. So we'll be doing a lot of like Hey Dude, Pete and Pete, Salute Your Shorts, Carissa, and a few other shows that are in there. So we're gonna be doing that. We're gonna be recording that on Saturday, and then those videos are gonna release throughout the course of the next couple of weeks. And then I'm trying to get it with TWRP because we have a special episode of the Bibleans that I want to record hopefully on Saturday or like next Saturday. Get that out there. Our next episode of the Bibleans is going to be on Sunday. It's going to be a live episode. We're going to be talking about the coming alien deception and going in good detail about that. So that's what I have coming up there. And then as far as my next stream tomorrow night, 01 stream on Bounding in the Comics. Cider worked on a completely kick-ass new intro and outro for our show, so you definitely want to check that out on the Bounding in the Comics side. So go do that. I'm gonna have some written reviews coming out here in the next couple of days, so hopefully we'll have that updated on the site. So all of my links are in the description here below, so go check that out later on. For everyone who joined us on the show here tonight, obviously a shout out to Chris as well, who joined us early on. But who else we got? We got Cassie, Vanya, Dobafett, Spencer, Gothic Girl, Leslie, Joshua, Maurice, Rooftop, Alex, Brandon, Biggles, Taco, Jim, JEC, Keith over on Rumble, Cheddar Steve over on Rumble as well. Everyone, thank you very much for joining us here on the show here tonight. And I have a very special outro because we talked about Cody Rhodes and Cody finally finished his story. I'm going to go ahead and give me a little Cody Rhodes tribute here as we end this show. Good night, everyone. We will see you later. Adios. Goodbye.
Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck
Headliner. Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody
Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Yeah!
I don't know. Now we can fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody
Fuck
Rhodes
Cody
too?
Rhodes.
Yeah. No one gives a shit about Cody Rhodes either, so
I
fuck
didn't
him.
even put him in. Yeah, fuck Cody Rhodes. Not fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Daniel Bryan.
Fuck Cody Rhodes and
fuck Cody Rhodes.
TNA.
Yeah.
Are you ready to fuck Cody
Yes.
Rhodes? Alright, fuck Cody
Fuck
Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes too.
Fuck Cody
Yeah,
Rhodes.
fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody Rhodes.
Fuck Cody Rhodes. Fuck Cody